Hello.
My greetings. Well met. Greetings, traveler. Greetings, friend.
The pleasure is mine.
Hello and welcome to episode 284 of Concede, a Hearthstone podcast dedicated to making the competitive side of the game more accessible to you. Is Thursday, March 25th in the evening. It's patch day. Happy 20.0. From Gadget in New York, it's me, Ridiculous Hat. From Karazhan, California, we got Robotticus.
Hey.
Hey. From Undercity, Pennsylvania, we got Edelweiss. It happened again.
What happened again?
I didn't hear you say anything.
What? How does that keep happening?
I
It
don't-
happens every
time.
week.
I'm going to give you a
What
fake
if-
out hello
when
next
you-
time.
Or is it-
When you
I can
edit the
find-
episode, does it show up?
It's in her audio, but not mine.
Unlucky.
That's very weird.
Yeah, it has to do with Discord's anyway. And from Undercity, Pennsylvania, we've got Edelweiss.
Hello.
And listeners, we've got you. We are supported directly by you, the listener. If you'd like to find out how you can support us, receive rewards in return, head to patreon.com/coinconcede. You'll support us by leaving an iTunes review, totally free, and really helps other people find the show. Big thanks to David J., Viriatis, longtime friend of the show, and another new producer, Antero. Antero, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Also, we're going to do a bonus episode this week, but then we didn't because I got sick. We're going to do another one, but if you're leaving reviews, we're going to read them. Thank you so much. Really appreciate all of you out there leaving reviews. Helps other people find us and makes us feel nice and happy, and you know how that goes. All right. Happy patch day. So the life and ladders, we're not going to talk about ladders much because we're going to talk about what we've been doing all day in the news highlights section, because today is just going to be a big old vibe check about this giant patch they just dropped on Hearthstone. But I do want to hear about just general life stuff. How's your week gone, Edelweiss? How's your week?
Pretty good. Scheduled for my second dose of the Pfizer vaccine tomorrow. So, a little awkward in that I have some remote work this weekend of all weekends. So hopefully I won't be too out of it. I hear the second dose can sometimes kick your butt, but yeah. I mean that means it's doing its job, but hopefully it's not too bad. Regardless, I'll be happy to be fully protected.
Yeah, it's the vaccine eligibility seems to be opening up around the country, and so I am hopeful that it's something that, well, speaking as someone that works with the public every day, I'd like to get one too. But yeah, glad that you have the second dose lined up. It's very strange to think about that this whole thing might be not a thing anymore in the near future. Yeah,
I will remain cynical so that nothing gets worse.
that's good. Yeah, Boticus, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing all right. Yeah, just been mostly playing Genshin Impact still until today, and yeah, played some Hearthstone today. I haven't been playing a little bit of Hearthstone here and there up until today, but then today happened, and there's some interesting stuff to do.
Some
I guess we'll
interesting
talk
stuff
about
to
it later.
do. You are a master of understatement. Yes.
I
Diff-
mean, I'm probably not as excited as a lot of people about this, but it's still fairly exciting. I did have a couple moments where I smiled very, very large after playing the good old Miracle Rogue.
And this is still just like, this isn't even the content day. This is the precursor, and it still feels expansion day-esque, surprisingly. We'll talk about it in a second.
I'm definitely way more excited about the expansion than I am about the stuff that came out today, but I do think the stuff that came out today is cool. And right before the show, I was excited to play a game of Quest Rogue because I forgot that also happened today. And then I saw a tweet I saw a tweet from Hat, and I was like, hold on, we have to delay the show. I thought it was going to be a couple seconds, but then I played against a priest and lost. So took longer than expected, but still, yeah, Quest Rogue's fun.
Yeah, it is. It remains to be seen if that opinion will be shared in a few weeks from now from Wild Mains, but hard to say. As for me, well, you have heard, and you might hear it in my voice a little bit. I was told on the Angry Chicken yesterday that it's not noticeable, but I'm coming out of a cold. Now, it is a cold, it's not COVID. I had a test, and I don't have a fever, and my oxygen is good, and blah, blah, blah. I'm okay. I'm okay. But let me tell you, feeling like you're starting to come down with something hits different in 2021. It's very nerve-wracking to be like, oh no, I'm getting sick. And then there's just this new sense of dread that kind of comes along for the ride. Plus, it's been a year since I've had a cold, since I've had anything. You know, we've all been inside for a year. Think about it, like
No, other germs as well.
yeah, I would typically, get sick 4 or 5 times a year, whatever. I work with the public. I wash my hands a lot, but there's only so much you can do. I live in New York City. I take public transit. Colds are a thing that happens. And for a year, it just didn't. And so, it was familiar, but not really in a positive way. And I wasn't really ready for it. And it hit pretty hard. So, you may notice me muting a bit or being slightly more nasal. I apologize for that. I will be trying to mute and edit out all the gross nose sounds and mouth sounds that might involuntarily happen. But at least in the meantime, while I've been home, because I took some time off work because everyone in the modern age is like, you're sick, stay out of the office. Right? Back in the old days, you would take a sick day and then you would take a Dayquil and you would go in. Now, no, everyone's like, please stay home. Please don't be anywhere near us. So, been home since Friday. Go back tomorrow. Should be fine. But in that time, there's been a lot of stuff happening in Hearthstone. Let's talk about it.
Gadgets and Gazette always gets the scoop.
So, we have a patch. Patch 20.0. And it's a big one. I believe Celestalon said it's the biggest patch, or probably like their biggest undertaking ever in Hearthstone. And I believe it, because, oh boy, there's a lot of stuff in here. So, first and foremost, I guess we'll just kind of go piece by piece. The Shaman hero power has been changed. We now no longer have spell damage totem unless you play classic, and if you're playing classic, then why are you playing shaman? So shaman has a hero power change. Nitro boost, as we all kind of already knew because it got leaked, but it is now official that nitro boost has been nerfed to 2 mana. And yeah, all of the cards with core set changes have been adjusted, and all of the reversions are now live. In addition to all that, the classic format is now live, as I mentioned briefly. Has got to play a couple games of that. These cards are not free. They did not give you the cards in classic, but if you already had them, if you did not disenchant them, then you can still play the format. And everybody's starting out with a 2x multiplier because they have, obviously it's a new format. They don't have any previous data from that format, so they just gave everybody a two times multiplier.
And I imagine that will get flipped on the 1st, which is a week from today. I imagine that these early games are kind of placement games because it's right now everyone got 2x. It's super grindy. Also of note, there is an asterisk in the Shaman hero power changes. There's a lot that happened, and this patch has some bugs right now, and we're going to talk about that later. And also, there are some things and details that are confusing, like legality and what you can buy, and which things change, and which things stay the same, and which happens today, and which happens Tuesday. We're going to process all this, so just come along for the ride. Bear with us.
Yeah, I had someone in chat today asking about the didn't know what the core set was, didn't know what was going on with the game today, and I was trying to explain it, and I was just like, all right, give me a minute
Yeah.
so I can break it down.
So, all right, I'm gonna nudge the order that we're going here today. I'm gonna do this here because I think it's pretty important to detail what's happening today and what's happening Tuesday. So today, Shaman Hero Power changed mostly. Ironically, it's bugged right now. It's based on your Shaman Hero portrait. If your hero portrait is a Thrall, any Thrall, then you have the new totem. If it is a not Thrall, then you have the old totem. This is not a meme.
Crap.
I'm not making this up. It is tied specifically to Thrall's ID as a hero, which are all the same, even if you're one of the different Thralls. So if you are a Thrall, you have the new totem. And if you are a Morgul, or a Rastakhan, or a Thunder King, or a Vash, or whatever, then you get the spell damage totem.
So if I switch back, I can still have spell damage totem for a little while longer until they fix
Yeah.
the bug?
Yes.
So if you're playing spell damage shaman or burn shaman, play not Thrall. And
Switch
if you're
your hero
playing a
portrait.
totem shaman, play Thrall.
Also, this is a bug. I would expect this to get fixed server-side in the very near future. But yes, that is currently the situation we have. I've been spending all day collecting the very strange interactions that are going on with a patch of this magnitude, and this is not a judgment on the team. They're doing exactly what they can with the patch of this magnitude, but there are some funny little things that have slipped through. But so today, Shaman Hero Power mostly changed, Nitro Boost nerfed. Cards that were in standard, that are in current standard, that are going to be changed for the core set to stay in upcoming standard, those were changed today. So, like, for an example, Sprint. Sprint costs 6 now. Right? It just does. The old version, the new
And
version.
this we weren't expecting.
It was not clear. I don't think we had a set expectation, but I think that our assumptions were that it would be changed on Tuesday. But instead, it's along with the reversions that we knew about what happened, that were going to change. All the card updates are also live right now. Jaraxxus is a hero card right now. He gains you 5 armor. He does not set your life to 15 in current standard right now for the next 5 mana or
Unless
5
you're
days.
playing classic.
No, yes,
Which is also very confusing because Sprint will cost 7 in classic, and also Jaraxxus will put your opponent back up to 15 health,
yeah.
like he used to do back in classic, because that makes sense. But also in my brain, it doesn't fully make sense because things are weird.
It's
Trying to
the
play two
classic
formats with
the classic
Yeah.
set card, which will become the core set card, has been updated. But in the classic format, the classic set card is in the classic version. We will be digesting how today has been overwhelming in a way. There's a lot of details, a lot to keep track of. But just know that any card that's going to be updated for core in 5 days got its update already. And the reversions, which we knew were going to happen today, also went through. So your Arcane Golems are 4/2 charges, and your Conjurer's Calling cost 3, and whatever.
Was super confused when I went to make a Face Hunter deck for a standard, but I had just made a classic deck, and I went in and Hunter's Mark was 0 mana, and I thought I missed something because I thought I was making a standard deck, but I was making a classic deck, and Hunter's Mark is
no.
0 mana in classic, but it costs 1 mana in standard and will be 1 mana in the core set.
No, in Wild, it's not in the core set.
In Wild.
Yeah.
Right, it's not in the core set.
Yes.
But yeah, it's very confusing. Going between all
Yes.
of the different formats.
And there are other things that are happening on Tuesday. So those are all the things that happened today. Classic format live, Shaman Hero Power kind of changed, Nitro Boost nerfed, any cards that have changes going forward, and any reversions are live. On Tuesday, new set day, obviously, core set becomes available, even though if you click through your achievements today, you got told you got a bunch of golden legendaries, and then went in your collection, said, where are my golden legendaries? They're in the core set. You can't see that now. The tab is hidden. It'll become available. Classic rotates. Arena rotates. But not duels. Duels rotated already. Again, there's a lot going on here. The reward track resets on Tuesday. The Tavern Pass becomes available for purchase on Tuesday. And classic packs change. This is the important part. Hall of Fame stuff goes back into the classic packs on Tuesday. And the replacement Hall of Fame cards drop out. So like your Natalie Celine's and your the 1 mana add a random demon to your hand, the Warlock spell. That stuff falls out of packs because it wasn't originally in classic packs. Classic packs kind of revert back to how they were. And so you can open Sylvanas and Ragnaros and all those Hall of Fame cards and Azure Drake. You can get those in Classic Packs on Tuesday, but not today. Even though the Classic Bundle is on sale today, the Golden Classic Bundle, it will not give you any of the Hall of Fame cards. So wait until Tuesday for that. And I think their messaging could have been better about that. That's a very confusing thing. And people will spend money on a Classic Bundle and then not be able to open the cards they were looking for. And I think that's unfortunate.
Yeah, I have pretty complete Classic Basic, but that is definitely something I could see. Like, if I was needing some cards, I could totally see myself getting the bundle, thinking it's good value, opening right away, and then realizing, oh wait, I couldn't have gotten Sylvanas, couldn't have gotten Ragnaros, etc.
Yeah.
Anyways.
And also, just the detail stuff that changed. Tavern Brawl pack, as of today, is Year of the Phoenix. It's no longer a Classic pack. So they took the Classic pack out of the Tavern Brawl, but they added it to the store. The achievements reset, but the rewards track doesn't. So if you were looking for achievement XP for Darkmoon Faire and Duels, that's gone. But you can get XP for Baron's achievements right now. But the rewards track hasn't reset yet, so it counts towards the new achievements count towards the old track, which resets on Tuesday. And then if you're playing Duels, Duels rotated today, and you can't add Baron's cards to your deck yet, but you can find them in buckets. You can get them, which is being advertised.
Wow.
They have that in the blog.
That is pretty cool.
It is really cool, but it's weird and incongruous with the rest of the stuff that's going on. And also, Duels is pretty cool as well. There's a separate note. They added a ban list. They banned Tour Guide and Penslinger, among other things, and Leroy Jenkins.
Oh, thank goodness.
And Lightning Bloom. Yeah, really excited about where Duels is going. Except they banned Nozdormu the Eternal. I'm very upset about that. But no Speedstone in Duels. No Speed Duels. So yeah, you think about all this stuff that we just talked about. This is a lot to keep track of for us, and we're pretty wired in. I can't really imagine trying to keep track of this information as someone that's a little bit less invested.
Well, and I think especially if you're someone who just logged in today, this just happened to be the day that you logged back in, or you're watching a stream and you're like, wait, what's going on? I think there's some people that are pretty understandably lost. Yeah, haven't been keeping track of news, didn't know core set and all that was coming. And this 1 week period is so chaotic.
Yeah. I think that it's like, if this was an event that they had, and understandably, I doubt they had the time and resources for it, because the patch slipped. It's the biggest update they've ever done. I don't expect another resources, but this would be something that, like, you make this a festival, right? You brand it with something, and you make it, I don't know. You brand it after Chromie or something, and you make it time travel. I don't know. Figure it out. And then, like, you put theming, and you explain what's going on, and you have, like, cute pop-ups with voice characters, and you show the cards being different. But instead, it just kind of plopped into the client, and it was really a lot to keep track of.
I don't know. I agree with you, and at the same time, I feel like adding all that stuff has a much higher likelihood of introducing extra bugs, and we're already seeing a couple. And so, honestly, with the magnitude of this patch, I think it's better to have a somewhat rocky weekend this weekend, as long as it means that Monday night or whatever they hotfix any of the bugs or whatever, so they have a smooth launch on Tuesday, which is when we get all of the new cards live. We get to play standard with a rotation and all of that. I'd rather have that be solid than have today be a bit overwhelming, which it's even more overwhelming than I thought.
Yeah.
But when you're not as tied into social media, then you don't really have to think about this as much. And it was still pretty overwhelming just in general, just logging in and realizing how much stuff there is to do for the next 5 days, and that doesn't include the launch of the set, which is almost less stuff but also kind of more exciting, because this is old stuff that is new, whereas Tuesday will just be all new stuff.
Yeah. This is... If they wanted to build hype and get people to log in 5 days before the set and get them back in the client and get them excited about Hearthstone and hey, maybe buy a pre-order, like, this is a good way to do it. But also, it's a lot going on. Now, with that being said, I don't think any of the things that we described are, like, major deal-breaker problems. They're little things. The only exception is anything you spend money on. The classic bundle not getting the Hall of Fame cards, I think, is a miss. I think that's a whiff. Beyond that, I think all the stuff is... It's a lot of churn, but if you just take this week off, you never even notice it and it's fine. And there's always going to be some kind of baggage and some kind of band-aids you have to rip off when you're replacing Classic with Core. Like, that's a huge change, and it's not going to be painless no matter what you do. I don't know. I'm of two minds about this, because I see that they had to do all this stuff, and I'm grateful it's in the client, but the fact that we have to bullet point date list what's happening on which day, we shouldn't have to do that for people to be informed. But in the grand scheme of things, I think that we've seen smaller patches with bigger bugs. And if the biggest issue we have right now is that your shaman hero determines your totem pool, that's kind of funny. I'm down with that.
Yeah, I don't think that's game breaking enough to really concern anybody in my eyes, at least.
It will be a nightmare to keep track of in qualifiers if it is still going on during those, which seems...
I can't believe they're running qualifiers this weekend, by the way. I cannot believe it. It seems insane.
It's unreal. It's going to be so weird.
There's a qualifier right now. Right now.
But it's also cool. Like, it's really cool that something like this is happening, because there's so many deck brewers out there that want opportunities like this to show that they can get an actual advantage in qualifiers by brewing something that's going to be short-lived like this. I would think this would be exciting. I guess I'm putting words into deck brewers' mouths, and I should just be asking Edelweiss.
I would be excited if I weren't working this weekend.
It's like, I think it is cool, but also Battlefy wasn't ready for it. I'm surprised they didn't just give it 24 hours. Just 24 hours. Just wait a day, just to make sure that they can load in decks. They had to... Some devs had to scramble last minute because Battlefy wasn't allowing players to submit cards that said it was for a different version of Standard.
Oh, no.
They fixed it, but the qualifier started late because they had to. So, I don't know. It's... but that's an esports thing. Esports, very, very different situation. And either way, I don't know if you all noticed, the client feels really good today. Like, a lot of the UI touches they did are super nice. In the achievements panel with the progress bar.
There was one thing that kind of weirded me out, though. So, like, I hit legend, and then there's still, like, the star thing over my rank. What does that refer to?
Well, you have an X1 multiplier now. I mean, yeah.
But in legend?
So you'll gain MMR, but, like, technically, you don't have a star bonus anymore. It doesn't need to show it to you, but X1 is just the lowest you can go.
Okay. Huh. I guess I was just confused as to, like, it felt like a bug or something, because I was confused as to why it was still there once I hit legend.
It doesn't need to still be there. But, like, the screen there is slightly redesigned, and it just feels really clean, and you notice when you switch deck pages, like, the deck kind of, like, pops out and ka-chunk and slides over, and the achievements page, like, with the little progress bars, and then the little glowing buttons on the left side, is the fit and finish stuff.
Funny. I couldn't point out to you, like, all the little details, but I definitely did feel the difference, and I knew that something was different, even if I couldn't put my finger on it. Which is good, right? They want it to feel familiar and the same, but hopefully better. It's cool to see the results of all those UI design hires, because I remember checking the careers and I was like, they're getting a lot of UX UI people. I wonder what changes they're going to do. And so it's awesome seeing some of those changes.
Simultaneously like and dislike the format selection page when you play Constructed. I like the way that it looks when it happens, but it also takes a lot longer than it used to because
Yeah.
it has to. You have to click the button, and then it has to bring up the different formats, and then you select the format you're gonna play. Whereas before, you just click the button, and it switches back and forth between wild and standard. Then you choose between casual and ranked, and that felt really nice. But at the same time, you can't do that as easily, I don't think, with the UI they decided to go with, unless you had 3 different buttons just on there, but that takes up a lot of space. So I like it and I don't like it because it costs me an extra half a second
See,
every.
I don't
every
even know
time I
what that
switch
looks like
formats.
yet because I've still just been playing standard.
It's really nice, and it's got this. Everything has this kind of like juicy feel to it now, where it's like a lot of mechanical clicking and chunking and whatever. And so you click the thing in the top right, and it pops out everything, like all the different formats. And there's a standard, wild, classic, and then casual. And casual is even what they did with casual is super smart. Casual, the matchmaking is the same, but it's not like standard casual, wild casual, classic casual. It's just casual. Based on the deck you pick's legality, it automatically matches you. Super smart.
That's really cool.
Yeah. They don't do
I like
that,
that a
by
lot.
the way, with wild and standard because when your standard deck rotates to wild, they want you to be able to click it and automatically upgrade it and go back to standard. That's why they don't do that. But in casual, it makes a lot of sense, which is why that just if you were someone that likes playing casual, you just stay in that mode forever. No matter what you click, the deck always works and always finds other people that are playing the same kind of deck. But yeah, it does take longer. I don't know. It feels like the client got a little bit buttoned up with, and with that coming with this many changes as well, it feels very impressive to me. Plus, they did a bunch of other things. There are a lot of new voice lines. All the Jaina portraits that people complained about a while ago got a ton of new voice lines. Sylvanas has a lot of new voice lines.
Sylvanas already had a ton of voice lines, didn't she?
Yeah, but she's back in the store. And some people, if you were an old school arena gamer, you got a bunch of gold portraits today. Because all those ancient arena wins from back before they counted, is that what happened to you, Bot?
I was wondering why I got a bunch of 1,000 win portraits. I got 2 or 3.
Schwal in our chat said he got 4 portraits. 4 portraits today. Someone on Twitter I saw got 5 golden portraits today. 5! Imagine just logging in and be like, here you go. It's crazy.
Yeah, I don't think they were golden. I think they upgraded from 500 to 1,000
Yeah.
wins. Because I had golden on most everything. Obviously not Demon Hunter. I still don't have 3 digits of wins on Demon Hunter.
Yeah. Well, the class might be a hipster class now because upcoming standard looks pretty questionably good, so maybe you can play it now.
Oh,
that's
OTK Demon Hunter is still good.
Okay, no, not that one. I mean, like Death Rattle stuff.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean,
that's cool, honestly.
See?
Although
okay.
I did like all the memes. I did like all the memes of people predicting what the last Demon Hunter cards were gonna be, and just have it all cards that care about Death Rattles with no Death Rattle cards in there. That was entertaining to me. But yeah, I don't know. Do we want to? What else do we want to get into before we talk about what we've been playing?
I'm just trying to think about like all the questions that people have had today, because there have been so many, but also like all the things that people have been doing.
I mean, my whole WoW guild started talking about playing the game again today. People who said they weren't going to play Hearthstone again are playing, and
not only people that said they weren't going to
classic.
play again, people that treated the game as the butt of a joke. Like, people that were vocally negative about the state of the game for a long time.
Yeah, well, I had to recommend it to one of them last night to do the Tavern Brawl, because today the Brawl switches from Classic, or wait, did it switch, or is that going to be on Tuesday?
No, it switched already today. It was switched with the patch.
Switched. So I recommended, in case it switched to standard packs, to do the Brawl so that he could get a Classic pack, so he could get old cards and play Classic, which he had to craft a bunch. He apparently disenchanted a bunch of Classic cards back in the day and had to craft them again. But he doesn't play Standard or Wild or any of that, so it doesn't really matter. He can just craft the cards he was missing. He wasn't missing a lot of cards, but now he tweeted or posted some pictures in Discord of him playing Classic.
Yeah. It feels like the kind of day where there's a lot of visibility for our game in a really positive way. And these kind of days feel pretty rare. Apparently, one Tempo Reynad is currently streaming Hearthstone Classic.
Oh no.
Oh, man.
I feel like that's super perfect.
I mean,
The
Amnesiac
peak nostalgia.
You saw Amnesiac's tweet?
Yeah, well, and Bot, you played Classic today, right? Edelweiss, you didn't yet,
Oh,
because you're the hipsters, like, all this new stuff, let's play some Standard.
I got home.
Stop
No,
talking
Edelweiss
about
has a very good point. She only gets access to this crazy Standard for 5 days, and Classic's going to be around for as long as they want
Ever.
Classic to be
Forever.
around.
Forever.
And that's fine.
Forever.
But
What is that from?
The Sandlot.
Oh, that's right. How could I forget?
How
I
could you
had the
forget?
option to play Miracle Rogue again for the first time in a long time, and I got 3 games in, and I destroyed all 3 games. The games were not close, and I'm very happy. I beat so my first game I played against Handlock, and they got to do their thing. They got a giant they got Mountain Giant in play, and then the next turn they went Twilight Drake as a 4/7 coin Argent Defender, taunted both of them. Game still was not remotely close because on turn 5 I played Auctioneer, Prep, Conceal, and then they just died in a few turns because I drew cards until I had 4 cards left in my deck. And the next game I played against a Warrior, and I don't know, they had Korkron Elite in their deck. I don't know if they were playing a deck, an actual deck, or just playing Warrior cards. And they also got destroyed by Auctioneer, Coin, Conceal. And then in my final game, I played against a Face Hunter who had misdirections, 2 misdirections in the deck, and I killed them on turn 6 with a lot of help from a SI7 agent that got 2 Cold Bloods put on it and connected face. Let's see, it connected face 1 with 1 Cold Blood, connected face another time with the second Cold Blood, and then I got to I knew they played an Explosive Trap, so to get lethal on turn 6, I had to kill their taunt minion, attack face with my weapon to proc the Explosive Trap, and then Leroy their face for the win. So it was it's just, it brought a smile to my face. I wasn't overjoyed or anything, just I was like, this feels good, and I know it's not gonna feel good for an extended amount of time, because I'm sure I'll probably get bored of it relatively quickly, but it was just like, this was nice. I got to play a deck that I really, really loved from back in the day and do well with it.
Yeah. The people, places, and things, like just the memories and the muscle memory that's built up from playing with these older cards, just seeing a Force Roar again, it was just a very strange feeling of just going back in time. Like, I remember that this was such a big part of my gaming experience for years, and then it just went away, and I had to explain to people back in my day, Force of Nature had charge, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. Today was a day that made Hearthstone a lot easier to recommend to so many different kinds of people. To people that left us like, yo, come back and try Classic. To people that are, waiting for the new Standard, yo, look at all the stuff that's going on here in the upcoming rotation, or the Wild players, or if you were looking to play Quest Rogue or whatever, which is, well, that's the majority of the Standard players that I know that jumped into Wild to do. But yeah, Jay Correct in chat is saying, this is the feeling that Wild was supposed to give, but wasn't able to. Or rather, I don't know if Wild's intended to do that anymore, but yeah, it's the feeling of going back in time with the decks that I grew up with. I didn't expect that kind of nostalgia to hit so hard, but it was really, really pleasant. Really, really nice to do. And combined with just how slick the client feels these days, it just feels really easy to be positive about the game right now, and I'm very happy about that. And I don't know, I played like 2 games of Wild, and 2 games of Classic, and 2 games of Standard, and just, like, between being on every social media platform possible today, constantly talking about the game, just, like, bopping in there and playing all the different formats, and there's way too much to do. I haven't even got to play with Mana Worm yet!
It's fun.
I believe you. It seems plausible. What did you do today, Edelweiss?
So I did not touch Classic. I played Standard with all the weird, goofy changes. I tried a few different things. I think the ones I played the most were Face Hunter variants and Combo Warrior. I'm just calling it Combo Warrior because it has like 3 different combos. It's as much card draw as I could pack in without running stuff like Loot Hoarders, etc. And it has ETC combo potential. It has, so I have double Broomstick for the ETC, but then also double Crab Rider. So which means I can run 2 stage dives. And stage dive buff on Crab Rider is very good.
Yeah.
Particularly when you can give it Charge, Inner Rage, and Mercenary.
That's a lot of damage.
That is a lot of damage.
Listeners, audio listeners, you could not hear me holding up my fingers and counting, but I held up my fingers and then realized you killed people.
28 damage.
You killed people. Yeah.
Yes. I ran a single copy of the Worgen, I forget what it's called, the 3-drop.
Raging Worgen.
Yeah, Raging Worgen. For those who don't recall, this is a 3-mana 3/3 with, well, we don't call it Enrage anymore, but when it's damaged, it gets +1 attack and Wind Fury. So you can Inner Rage it and then give it Charge and any combination of like Shield of Honor or Bloodsworn Mercenary, and it's a lot of charge damage. So I basically removed Blood Boil Brutes and Corcoran and Warmaul Challengers to fit in like extra combo pieces. And there's so many different combos to keep track of. I was not playing it optimally, but there were a couple games that I thought I totally threw and then managed to clutch out. It's just like do some early damage with weapons and then pick your combo to kill them with. Crab Riders are really great for clearing early boards as well. Like you often just run out a Crab Rider or 2 to survive. And then figure out what is the combo that you're going to end up killing with them that game. Of course, sometimes it is just Skipper Smith.
Still good. 5 more days.
Still good. Especially with the Face Hunters.
But were you playing Magtheridon for the
No,
combo
what?
that I mentioned?
No.
You don't remember
No.
that combo's good too.
No, it's not.
Spotticus, we're going to need you to test this one out and let us know. Report back, please. I want to see it in action.
Will.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
As soon as this podcast is over, I'm gonna take 5 minutes to make the deck, another 5 minutes to win my first game, take a screenshot and send it straight, and tag Edelweiss. Oh, I should put it on Twitter. Oh, that'll be great.
You should. Yes.
I should definitely do that.
I'll budget some extra time just in case it takes a little longer than 10 minutes to. I assume just making the deck might take a little longer, right? But you can make up some time by winning that quickly.
No, you just I just ask Edelweiss for whatever her list is, and then I can just substitute the Magtheridon in there. You just gotta switch out one card, and it probably plays the exact same.
Yeah.
Except I don't actually know how you kill the 1/3s.
This
We'll
is an
figure it
interesting
out.
wrinkle. Yeah.
We'll figure it out.
We'll get there. I love that you can't even Barov Broom because Barov's a 3/2 and they're 1/3s. The Barov doesn't die.
Yep.
I'm entertained.
Anyway, so I also tried Galakron Shaman, a version of it. I'm sure there are better lists, but I tried mine. That felt pretty good. It's like a solid mid-range deck. I think you still would get murdered by a weapon rogue, but I was like about to lose and then top decked Galakron for the win.
Yeah,
against,
weapon rogue doesn't exist anymore, right? Because Nitro Boost got nerfed.
Why would it not exist anymore? It's still a crap ton of damage.
2-mana Nitro Boost is not a great card.
Even with the prep interaction, really.
It's your preps are really pressured. You have to use them on the Nitros, and that means that you can't get the gross early turns that you were so used to getting with that deck. And also, if you don't draw prep, then Nitro is bad.
I mean, I would think that even without Nitro, you still have enough damage through stealth.
It might have been enough in a format that didn't also get like 60 other cards changed for the better in the same patch. But they nerfed Nitro, and then they also buffed 60 cards. So I don't think a lot of people are trying out Weapon Rogue right now. I just don't get that vibe. Yeah, I'm hearing a lot of Gala Rogue and Gala Shaman are good.
I feel like that is prime opportunity to continue running a stealth aggro rogue and murdering people with
No,
Fingers.
then you run Toxic Reinforcements against those decks. You just play Toxic Reinforcements, and then you play Buzzard Wolpertinger. Getcha.
I did do some of that, and that was quite enjoyable.
Yeah, it's disgusting. That deck is 2-mana Starving Buzzard is an abomination.
Oh my god! With Wolpertinger, with Adorable Infestation, both of those are draw twos, and then anytime you get to unleash onto a board, I was doing something that people thought was strange, which is I was running Broomstick, because the turn that you activate your quest and get 3 2/1 Leper Gnomes, that is an insane turn for Broomstick. So if you can go Knife Juggler, Hero Power to activate the quest, and then Broomstick, it's a good time.
I found someone on ladder that was running True Aim Crescent, and so they would pop the Leper Gnomes, and then they would.
Yeah, that could be worth it as well.
Yeah. There's a lot of things that I am interested in trying in Standard, and isn't it funny that after Nitro Bruce got nerfed, the best card out of Darkmoon Races is easily Crab Rider, and it's like I don't even think it's close. I don't even think it's close. I'm actually gonna look here. What else was even in this set? I'm sure there were plenty of good cards, but I feel like, yeah, Hysteria I guess got nerfed. Libram of Judgment, Sparkjoy cheat. Oh, by the way, Sparkjoy cheat right now is bugged. If you have Bamboozle and any other secret in your hand, it plays both. You only draw one card, but the Bamboozle just gets bamboozled right into play. In addition to the other secret.
Well, that's goofy.
It is cheating, but I guess Sparkjoy tells you what he's gonna do. It's not like it's a surprise. I don't know.
Oh, I kind of want to try that.
I mean, it's good. It's 2 more free mana. You have to have multiple secrets in your hand that you want to put in play, but then you just play your 3/3, and it's like, boop, here's some stuff. Yeah. I don't know. It feels like this is new expansion day, except it's not actually new expansion day, right? Because there's all the stuff we're talking about, and yet, on Tuesday, it's going to be way crazier, because Standard's going to start over.
I don't know how I'm going to sleep.
I took Wednesday off. Not Tuesday off. I took Wednesday off. Take the next day. That's the pro gamer move right there.
Why the next day?
Are you not going to stay up on Tuesday playing all night?
Oh, I see. Right, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just, yeah. It's gonna be straight through. It's gonna be a single day. That's how that works.
Yeah. All right. Well, we've got a few notes here. Robotticus, do you want me to cover this stuff under other notes? Do you want to do it?
No, sure. You go ahead.
So, okay. Some key notes. The pre-release, your ability to open your own packs at home, that's tomorrow for the whole weekend, as usual. But, because in the new rewards track, if you buy the Tavern Pass, you can get a Diamond Samuro, which is playable. Or, as soon as you open the rewards track, everybody at level 1 gets a free Mancrick. If you open Golden Mancrick or either Samuro in your pre-release packs, you can full dust refund it for a week. That's their solution. So that if you open these cards, they can't stop you from opening them, and they don't want to stop you from opening them. But if you end up with these cards that you could have gotten another way, you get to full value dust them if you want, or you get to keep them.
That's actually pretty clever because, yeah, then you can just go, okay, I've got my diamond one. I'll dust this, and then I mean, in some sense, it's kind of nice. It's a wild card legendary, right? You get to pick what one you want.
It's a free. Oh, hold on. It's a really player-friendly solution that also incentivizes more people to buy pre-order bundles. It's so smart, right? Because the only way you do the pre-release is if you have a pre-order bundle. And so this just says, oh, if you get to open your packs early, which you can only get from pre-order bundles, maybe you'll spike 1,600 dust. But you have to give them $50 to do that. Smart. And being player-friendly when people have already spent money on your game is a good thing to do. So, it's a good idea. We already mentioned casual format. Oh, by the way, speaking of Mancrick, the spell from Mancrick. You know that when Mancrick comes into play, we don't know where his wife is. I'm not going to spoil what happens, but it's not great. But there's a spell that gets
It
shuffled
already
into...
happened. That
Okay, I'm not going to spoil it for people that haven't seen the movie. You know. People haven't done the quest. Anyways, she gets shuffled into your deck. You have to go find her. She's not in great shape. But the spell that you draw that summons a 3/10 Mancrick who immediately attacks the enemy hero currently is costless. It has nothing. You can't even play it. They're going to patch it. Shortly after release, it will cost 3, which is a really important number because this is the card we want to draw off Barack Obama.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So, just be aware the Mancrick spell currently costs nothing. Like, it does not have a cost. Cost is null. But it will have a cost of 3. I think it is relevant. This is like Risky Skipper getting the pirate tag, right? Like, it's going to be a small thing that gets adjusted after release that will have gameplay impacts. And finally, beyond the few things that we mentioned for bugs, there is a known issues thread. There's a lot of them. Go check it out. It's on the Hearthstone forums, linked in the show notes. I'll put it in the Twitch chat here as well. There are a lot of things they know about, but also beyond the bugs that we mentioned about Spark Droid Cheat and about Spell Damage Totem, Grave Rune, if you cast it on your enemy's minions, you summon the copies now, which is not intended.
Oh no!
Yeah, it's also rotating
I was
out.
hoping it got worse, not better.
No, it got better for the priest and better for the amazing Reno. Yeah. And if you look in the top right corner of your rank screen, you see the rank chest, and it looks like you're getting the wrong rewards. It's a visual bug. They know about it. They're working on it. They know what your rank is, but the chest currently only shows it shows the wrong format, and it'll show that you haven't earned anything. And it's false. You've earned stuff. Don't worry, no one's going to take away your stuff. But there's a visual bug with that right now. And the friends list is funky. Instead of displaying your current best rank across all formats, it displays your worst rank. So, I have a lot of really high placing standard MMR players that are classic bronze 8 or whatever right now. Yeah. Just be aware that your lowest rank, or maybe your most recently played rank, I don't know, but it's whatever, it is not the current highest rank. So if you look at your friends list and it looks very strange, that's why. Phew.
That's pretty funny.
I think so.
That's entertaining. And I guess lastly, Iksar did it again. Had biggest patch possible today, and still wanted to do an AMA yesterday. So so he did one, and we have a couple of. I mean, probably not going to go super in depth on this because we want to get in. We got so many cards on Tuesday. There's so many crazy cards on Tuesday that we want to talk about new cards. But yeah, we have a link to the AMA if you want to get kind of the rundown. Out of Dot Cards does a really great job of summarizing all of the major points that were done in the Q&A. I don't know if there was one specifically you saw in here that you thought was worth mentioning, Hat, or if we should just move on to the Decksplanations.
It happened. I'm overwhelmed with patch stuff, so I didn't know what to pick out of the AMA, but the recap is over and Out of Cards, which I appreciate is there. And yeah, He finds time for these every week. I asked him a question yesterday, and he's like, "Oh yeah, ask this question to me again next week." I'm like, "Won't you be busy then? Don't you have like a new Hearthstone coming out?" But it's, yeah. Props to Iksar for getting this going. Also, he prefers vanilla ice cream over chocolate.
Yeah, that was the one thing I was gonna mention, which is kind of a travesty, but also I have to appreciate that other people enjoy things
I might agree.
that are different. That's fine. It's whatever.
I also
I accept people for their choices. I am not one person who will judge people for their choices in food preferences. That is not something that aligns with my view on food.
I mean, I don't have a problem with a chocolate milkshake, but I will generally angle vanilla most of the time.
Chocolate banana, though. That's a game changer.
I'm,
Throw in the banana, and it's brilliant.
Or chocolate peanut butter.
That can be a little too rich. It is good, but the banana really mellows it out. It's nice.
Yeah. And also, if you do vanilla, you can do like a caramel vanilla, and like a caramel whatever. Also, vanilla ice cream is the best ice cream milkshake to put booze in. So
that yes. Well, right, because it's a blank slate, right? You know.
Well, not blank. It's just it's a compatible flavor. Anyways.
Right. Yeah.
Anyways, we're not an ice cream podcast. Could be, but we're not. So, tournament section. I'm not doing the tournament section or meta section. There's meta to talk about this week. No, there's no meta. Play what you want to play in any format that you want to play. But tournaments, there are qualifiers this weekend. If you want to play them, they will be wacky. Good luck. I have no prior data to give you that could possibly be relevant. But we're rooting for you. All right. Let's talk about new cards for a while.
So with all the patch changes in patch 20.0, I kind of forgot that we were going to be doing this part, that we hadn't actually talked about these yet on the show because of the breakneck pace that they did the spoilers. And then there was chat in various places, Discords, etc. So yeah, we have yet to give our assessments. And remember, we don't really do the going through and ranking all the cards. We just go with a card you can't wait to play with, a card that you're scared of, a card you want to be good but isn't, a card you think is over or underrated or both, and a card you don't understand. So each of us will say are one of these. Why don't you kick us off, Hat, with the card you can't wait to play with?
So, first of all, I'll just note, there is a community ranking spreadsheet that a lot of people, they make their own rankings, and you can kind of compare them to each other. That's in the show notes as well. Feel free to go fill that out. I think it's pretty cool that we get to see what everybody thinks, and then also we get to document our successes and our terrible, terrible failures. So, but I'm running OBS right now, so Edelweiss, I'm going to pretend you didn't ask me. Why don't you ask Botticus?
Okay. Bot, what's the card you can't wait to play with?
All right. So there's this rogue card. Obviously, it's a rogue card because I love playing rogue. Called Efficient Octobot, aka Efficient Octobotticus, which is a 2-mana 1/4 that has Frenzy, reduce the cost of all cards in your hand by 1. And I don't know if this card is good. That is some pretty crazy text on there, and that's a very cheap card. I don't know if it's good, but if it is, it's kind of scary, and if it's not, it's kind of cool. And yeah, it's just an exciting card. It's got a lot going for it. It's also a mech for some reason. I don't know. I don't
Well,
know
it's a
that
bot.
It's a bot. How could it
Mechs
not be a mech?
Yeah, but they didn't. Irrelevant of the name of the card. Obviously, the name of the card makes it obvious that it's a mech. I don't know why this card is a mech, regardless of the name. They could have given it a different name that is not mech related and had the same text and everything, and it didn't have to be a mech.
I'll be
But
honest.
obviously,
The logic that I was waiting for was I'm a bot and I'm not a mech, so this doesn't have to be a mech either. That's the logic I was waiting for, or hoping for. Because you are a bot. And you're not a mech.
yeah, but how are you sure about that?
I'm not 100% sure. I have seen you eat food, but you didn't seem enthused about it or that you needed anything other than the raw caloric intake. Okay, now I'm thinking about this. All
No
right.
comment. So this card is sweet.
Renaming you
can-
Robotticus.
No, that's my cousin. My cousin Roger.
Oh my god. I'm seeing the Matrix now. I don't know what's happening.
So this card is kind of sweet though. I don't know. It's just cost reduction is very powerful. Rogue cards are very powerful. Lots of cost reduction in kind of the whole set. I don't know about either of you. I was gonna bring this up with the next cards we're talking about, but just it feels like on Tuesday they revealed a bunch of cards that are seemingly powerful but less interesting. So it's just like very efficient or cards with cost reduction on them got shown on Tuesday, and that was kind of surprising to me. I don't know if either of you got that feeling as well.
Wasn't paying that fine of attention to details like that. I was just sort of reveling in the new stuff. But I mean, when it comes to the reduction on this card, I like that this feels much more like a run out on curve for tempo kind of card, and that it's actually awkward to make work as a combo card. Because if you think about it, the way Frenzy works, if something kills this in one shot, you don't get that Frenzy trigger. So if you're trying to guarantee the discount for some kind of wacky combo, you need to sacrifice something else, like a backstab. In most cases, probably a pen flinger. But
Get ready to hear that a lot today, by the way.
I was
yeah,
gonna, or the other option, animated broomstick.
Yeah.
Also
right.
compare with this pretty well.
But at least you need to spend something else to reliably get it for some kind of combo shenanigans. And my hope is that this is best played just onto, so you can try and discount your hand for curving out, doing some combo things.
Yeah, I don't know how awkward dealing 4 damage to something outright's going to be. It feels like it's easy to pick off things with 4 health, but I don't know how often you can do that in one shot, which is pretty interesting and is going to definitely be a big part of, I think, the format in general, because there's a lot of these frenzy cards that seem like they have around that amount of health, where it's relevant. If you are capable of dealing 4 damage in one shot, then these cards are pretty irrelevant for the most part, without obviously combinations with other cards. But if it's easy to pick off 4 health but it requires 2 hits to do it, then they become a lot more relevant.
Right. And that's what I mean. Like it's hard to deal with 1/4 on 2, but at later points in the game, are you more likely to have something with 4 power? Like probably, if we're going back to board gameplay.
And overall, the vibe that we're getting from this set and from classic rotating, and it's going to be really hard to tell what's going on, but this happened in Magic, 17 years ago or so, when Ravnica City of Guilds came out. And they printed a card called Watchwolf. I think I've talked about this in the show before. I probably have.
Sure.
I repeat myself
Probably.
sometimes. It was a 2-mana 3/3. And everyone in Magic was like, a 2-mana 3/3, you can't do that. 2 mana for 2/2s. And it was just a little bit above the curve. But what the game decided to do at the time, which is what Hearthstone I feel is doing now, you take some of the power out of the spells and you move it into the minions. And so you'll notice stats are going to be a little bigger, right? Paladin minions are going to look goofy. They're going to be like, this is way too big for the cost, because you can scale minion stats just a little bit, and it usually isn't that big of a deal, as long as everyone has access to similar tools to remove them, and there are a lot of good sweepers, which there are in this format, a lot of really good, big, legendary sweepers. mostly legendary, by the way. I think that's very important, that the games are going to feel different because all your sweepers are legendaries, your Zyrellas and your Sumaru Apotheosis and your Soul Mirrors and whatever, as opposed to just Shadow Vision, Psychic Dream, Concede. But it's the spells seem worse, and the minions seem a lot better. And Frenzy is a very minion-based mechanic, and there's just less burn in the format. I also looked, like, for example, speaking of spells, I looked at Sethic Veilweaver pools. Do you know how much worse that card is getting? We're losing 4 targeted 0-mana spells. 4!
Yeah, Steve told me.
Yeah.
That's how I found out. Steve is like, look at this. These are cards that target Sethic Veilweaver.
Oh, good.
It's probably a good thing.
Yeah.
That card.
It's.
I mean, when you reduce the overall pool of things, cards like that are powerful early have a chance to get out of hand. So
there are fewer spells. The spells are generally worse. The minions are a little better. I think it's a good direction for the game, and I think it will remind us a lot of what Old Hearthstone was like, but it will feel modern, right? Because the cards are less clunky, and because Rush is a cool mechanic when you have the right amount of it. Now, Broomstick is a little bit too much, but beyond that, I think that a lot of the Frenzy minions have Rush, like the Warrior card, the 5-mana 4/5 Rush Frenzy draw card. Inoffensive, we'll probably see some play. I'm glad it's around. Not exciting, but like it's a reasonable card, right? It's probably not all that different from like an Ironforge Portal or whatever, except it's actually interactive and it's a minion. It does stuff and it might leave something behind. Like, cool. I'm glad this exists. So it makes sense to me that we're seeing cards like Octobotticus that we're throwing out there on turn 2 and hoping for it to give us a little bit more mana. Now, hitting J-Bar, really awesome. Outside of that, I don't think there are even that many cards early game in Rogue that are super scary if you discount 3 cards. Later game, it could be pretty juicy, but you have to hold on to it. I like that push and pull there, that tension of, do I play this early when it's likely to go off, or do I play it later when I have more cards to hit? And one-off effects, too. I love how they're doing more one-off effects. Because something that happens one time ever is way easier to balance than, like, end of every turn, Thaurissan. It's just such a different ballgame.
I am
Cool.
sad because Hat put in the list of cards that we speculated on last set, and the card that I wanted to play with, Tenwu of the Red Smoke, I literally have not played once since that episode, and I'm sad about that.
All 3 of us picked cards that we have played 0 times.
Yeah, that is true.
All 3 of us.
Well, okay. No, I did play it. It just
Was
not
awful.
after the first week.
Yeah. We'll talk
Yeah,
about it.
my card was Deck of Chaos for last set. So
What a shame.
that didn't work out.
I guess I'm glad that it wasn't good, but I wanted it to be at least, like, maybe good. And
yeah,
it was.
I wanted something, and it's just no. Yeah.
So what's...
Unlike, hopefully, my pick this time, which is Wildfire, and I am not alone in my excitement over this card. I don't know what it is about hero powers that gets people excited, but you know there are a bunch of people that liked Shadow Form in the early days. You know, we enjoyed doing things with modding the hero power with Gen and Baku, and you know eventually that got to be too much. But Clockwork Automaton was a cool card. I think there's something about getting that recurring value, in particular from hero powers that you can use to kill meaningful minions, that just feels good. Having that resource that you can do repeatedly, and Wildfire is perfect for that because you can keep upgrading it. So I saw a video of Kibler going like really deep on this pattern, where you know you've got the main deck 2 Wildfires, but then he had discover spell, as many ways of getting spells as he could, which there aren't very many anymore once we get this whole rotation thing. But as many as he could, so that you could have better odds of finding additional wildfires, because unlike the shadow form, this keeps increasing by 1 for each wildfire that you play. So you can get it up to 3, 4, 5, however many wildfires you can discover or generate. You can keep scaling the hero power, which is why you can do some really, really sweet things with the 4-drop, the Reckless Apprentice, which does damage to every enemy equal to the damage of your hero power. I wish they would speed up that animation.
Yeah, it's slow.
Yeah,
it does count towards Mordrish. So, like, it's not damage equal to your hero power. It actually shoots the hero power, which is pretty important. But yes, it's slow.
Yeah.
They need to work on that.
Yeah, I thought it would just be 1 blast. I get why it isn't, because it's shooting your hero power repeatedly to tick up Mordrish. Pretty much going to be quest complete if you've got 1 wildfire and you play that. But yeah, that deck looks super sweet. It's got, the card advantage through using your hero power meaningfully. And Mordresh is a great finisher. I love that we can tutor it out with Talon Forging.
Yes. Finisher, I don't know if it will finish games, but it's a nice large effect.
It's very, but like 10 damage is a lot.
It's about 10.
Yeah.
It's approximately 10.
Well, and
About
they have to reclaim the board without the minions that they just had. So
It's because it's also 10 damage to not just their face, but also the minions.
I do have one note of ROBOTTICUS. Dexter made the same mistake of not understanding what an OTK is.
I know what an OTK is, okay. I corrected it on the show seconds later.
I don't know.
Dexter was calling his deck Mordrish OTK because it had
OCK.
it had the biscuit. So he had double biscuit, so you could play Mordrish, refresh mana crystals, and then play Potion of Illusion. And then the next turn, you play Mordrish and another Potion of Illusion. And I'm just like, that's not what an OTK is.
No.
Yeah. I get it. I understand.
Well, you all talked about. Well, actually, no. This is another card. I'm also going to talk about a 2-drop. We're 3 2-minute cards.
I'm surprised at this one that you're excited to play.
Okay, so let me get this on screen here. I also, while I'm setting up OBS and totally not stalling for time, I want to point out that I'm glad that this set just has on average, a really low mana cost.
Yeah.
Like, on average, all the things are cheap because expensive cards don't get played.
Nothing costs more than 8.
Yeah.
And there's only 11 cards that cost 6 or more in the entire set.
So
Yeah, I guess I was gonna say before you continue that Wildfire was a card that I had to ask Kat if people were excited about this card or if they were low on this card, because I think it is a good card that deserves attention.
yes,
If people aren't giving it to it, because the card seems very good.
I agree. I think the card is. I think the card, like, this kind of effect, 2 mana seems like a reasonable price to pay for this. But also, it's hard to find consensus about anything these days, right? Because so much is changing, and there are opinions that are so all over the place. Edelweiss asked, what do people think of this? And they had to just wait for her to name weird Edelweiss cards, because all the other cards you're talking about, there's no consistent thing. But luckily, she found some weird Edelweiss cards, and we figured it out. All right. I want to talk about low curve hunter cards. Right? Kolkar Pack Runner was my pick. 2 mana, 2/3. After you cast a spell, summon a 1/1 hyena with Rush. Also, Wound Prey. 1 mana, deal 1 damage, get a 1/1 Hydra with Rush. This is a Spring Paw. Right? Like, it's not quite 2 threats. The first half, if they don't have a minion you want to remove, whatever. But it's a Spring Paw. It's a Elven Archer with Rush. Like, that's good. And then Kolkar Pack Runner is Gibberling with Rush. It's just a bunch of Russian Gibberlings. I want to play. So Hunter, the set overall, does not have a cohesive theme other than cards that are 4 or less mana that are really efficient. And I like those cards, so I want to play Zoo Hunter. I want to play really good cards for their cost and win the board by turn 4 and hit people in the face. That's all I want to do. Kolkar Pack Runner Adorable Infestation? Yes, I'm here for that. If you have the coin, that's disgusting. Kolkar, coin, get a 1-1. Infestation, it is a 2-2 rusher, a 2-3, and a 1-1 rusher. And a 1-1, an additional 1-1. Right? That's a 2-3, a 2-2, a 1-1, and a 1-1, and 3 of that attack has rush on turn 2 with coin infestation? I want to do that.
Unless you determine that 4 damage is difficult to deal and you make the pack runner 3-4.
Yeah.
If you don't need as much rush that turn. But yeah. Didn't I talk about this card last
You did.
week? This card's just good.
It's just good. I want to play this with Intrepid Initiate in the same deck and kill people on turn 6.
Oh, yes.
That's what I want
Finally,
to do.
Intrepid Initiate.
I mean, Intrepid Initiate was good in Skolo.
Yeah, and then it fell off, and I was kind of disappointed.
Yeah. I think that there is going to be a low curve Hunter deck that doesn't really do much other than be low curve, and that's enough. And if nothing else, I'm excited to try it, because I will be the fun police on day 1. I don't care. Go ahead and play your expensive decks. Try and see if Corrupt is still good. I'll Kolkar ya. I'll wound ya. We'll get you.
For 3 games before you switch to another deck list, because we all know you, and now you have 27 deck lists that you can have in your client. And
by the way,
you're just
9
gonna
more
be-
deck slots. Oh,
You're just gonna
yeah.
Are those
switch
already
in.
available?
Switch
Yeah.
in.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I
there.
weirdly have only had the first, I only have 4 or 5 made right now. Because I deleted everything to make new decks.
Well, I think I'm only at 14, but I haven't been playing a ton. So I'm excited for next Tuesday when I'm going to have... The 27's not going to be enough, but it will make things easier. I assume I'm just going to... Well, and I don't even feel a strong need to dedicate 1 slot to a classic deck, because the classic deck recipes are just good decks. I can just go in there and click Miracle Rogue, and it's just there in the client for me. I don't have to dedicate a slot for that.
Does it have Earthen Rings in it?
2 of them, yes.
Oh, I cut that card.
You might need
Got
it
rid
with
of that
Face
one.
Hunter. That matchup's bad.
Crushed it. Turn 6. They're dead.
Okay.
Easy.
All right, I'm not a robot. I can't do that. So, just to point out, my card that I listed here that I couldn't wait to play with from last set, I had to look it up. Redeemed Pariah. This is the 2-mana 2/3 Demon Hunter card. When you play an Outcast card, it gets +1/+1. Played 0 games with this card. I was waiting for a list to appear and it never did. And now Demon Hunter is just a Death Rattle class, I guess. I don't know.
I swear that card was a priest or paladin card.
It's a
No, I
Demon
knew what it
Hunter
was.
2-drop.
But I saw it the most in duels.
Yeah, apparently I could wait to play it, because I did, and I have. Alright, Edelweiss. Tell us about this card, because this was my card that I don't understand, and it's your card that you're scared of.
Yeah, so Celestial Alignment. This is one of those cards that I don't quite know if it's good, but I really hope it's not. Because it is a play... It means something bad is happening. Last time, that was Knife Vendor was my pick, because if we're putting a 4-mana 3/4 that hurts both players in our decks, probably something unhealthy is going on. In this case, Celestial Alignment.
Oh, wait.
Set each
Hold
player...
on. Instead of the knife, the pen is mightier. You're playing Penslinger.
Yes. But set each player to 0 mana crystals. Set the cost of cards in all hands and decks to 1. This is weird and extremely difficult to evaluate. However, on seeing some of it played by Dog and others during some of the theory crafting streams, I know people are going to be trying this day 1, and I know that the games you lose to it are going to be infuriating. Because the play pattern with this card is that you ramp into it with something like Overgrowth, or just Blooms, Innervates, because those are going to be much worse post playing it. And once it's in play, you get to play Nourish for crystals to ramp yourself back up so that now you're able to play more cards than your opponent at pace. It's weird. It's like you ramp and then you ramp again. And even though your opponent is playing maybe their biggest thing, most decks are built to play on curve. So you are going to be better at playing big stuff for 1 mana than your opponent in like most cases. And then the second one of these that comes down is backbreaking, because you get set to 0 again, and it's a board lock. And it's just such a frustrating thing when you can't play your cards.
The second one is miserable. I agree with you. The second one is miserable. The first part of doing nothing and ramping and then setting yourself to 0 and then playing Nourish seems like you might die. Is there a chance you die?
For sure. But like, if this is anti-mid range, right?
This is
You're
Quest
gonna have
Rogue.
the same.
This is Quest Rogue, right? It's either
You're gonna
kill
have
them or
the
you die.
same weakness to aggro,
Yeah.
but like, Guardian Animals Druid had a pretty bad weakness to certain aggro decks, and I think that's very much going to be the case for this deck. But mid range, it's not happening, right? If they pull this off, you just get locked out so hard because you're built around curve, and then they say curve doesn't matter. It's kind of similar, honestly, to the feeling of when the Scam Paladin would pop off, right? It's like sometimes you would just murder them, but if you were playing something that's game plan was a little slow, then they immediately go to the end game and outpace you. So I'm scared of this because, the deck that I really want to play, the Hero Power Mage, is not paced to play well against this. And
you get
I don't
destroyed by this card.
I don't want to have to both run Mana Biscuit, because I don't really want to run Mana Biscuit in that deck, and hold on to the Biscuit so that once they Celestial Alignment, I will be able to keep on pace.
You actually also don't, because then you're...
You only have one crystal, you refresh one crystal.
Cost.
It doesn't gain you crystals, it refreshes.
Unless you Mana Biscuit afterwards.
Right,
And
yeah.
then you
Mana Biscuit after, the turn after, it's 1 mana gain 1. It does nothing.
Right, exactly. No, but if you haven't played the first part, then it goes down to 1 mana.
But you only have one crystal. It refreshes, it does not add temporary.
Well, that turn. You have to wait until turn 2.
So turn 2, and then you play multiples. Yeah. It's...
like...
But even then,
it's not great.
If you're playing with a deck that is designed to not have a single backbreaking card or not have any relevant finisher cards, instead you're getting value of your hero power, then yeah, you get demolished, right? Like that particular matchup it sounds unpleasant. I do...
Card just feels like mana burn.
Yeah.
How mana burn felt, where sometimes it's not going to matter because you're so far ahead, the mana burn doesn't save them, and then other times the mana burn locks you completely out of the game and you don't have any functional cards anymore, and it feels terrible.
See, already, like, whenever I see cards like this, I feel like I don't get it, I'm just going to kill them. That's where my brain goes. But not everybody likes to just kill their opponent that quickly, and sometimes you want to play cards that, like, don't do stuff in turns 2 and 3, and then you win later. And this kind of card is probably really scary to those types of players. See Edelweiss, who wants to just press the button a bunch of times. I guess the question is, like, this card is cool, right? I've seen, when we see the Quest Rogue design, when we see Luna's Pocket Galaxy, those are a little bit more blunt, right? And there's even the original Rogue, like, Quest Rogue made a lot of fans. Luna's Pocket Galaxy, I think, just wasn't all that appealing to people outside of you do a couple games and it feels like a Tavern Brawl and that's cool. This card is interesting and a brain bender and a cool designed puzzle. But yeah, if it's good, the second copy is a nightmare to experience. I am very much swayed by that argument. Because that's pretty... Your opponent going like... Carnival Clown, blah, 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 fill my board with stuff. By the way, you have 1 mana for 1 card. Next turn, good luck.
It is nice. Well, like, you can't really do that because you can't, after you play this card, you can no longer corrupt your carnival clowns.
Use Razormane
I
Battle
mean-
Guard, the taunt reducer, and it puts it to 0, and then you play any other card.
Okay, so you
Also,
can-
Yeah.
even if you aren't doing that, I
Unfortunate.
think having survival of the fittest on 3 clowns is still pretty good.
Seems okay.
If your opponent gets 1 card to try and deal with it, I think you'll be fine.
And you could go, say, for example, here's just something you could do. Celestial Alignment, play Umbrella Owl and maybe a Clockwork Giant the same turn if you really wanted to, because those are both standard legal cards. And then the following turn, you can go Nourish for 2 crystals, Bloom for 1 extra crystal, Razormane Battle Guard, play Survival of the Fittest, which will corrupt your clown, which costs 0, then you play your clown, and then you play the second alignment. You could do that. You could do that. Now, I understand
Card draw do we have in Druid right now? Mass card draw? We don't
The-
have... 'cause
Overflow
You've got the
rotates.
beast.
we
Yeah,
lose
Um,
overflow rotates, which is important. You've got basically nourish.
Guess the Weight,
And-
Fungal Fortunes. Not
Probably
actually
don't
a
run. Fungal.
ton.
Fungal's pretty rough.
It's
in this deck.
mostly nourish and guardian animals
Guess the Weight.
and guess the weight.
So Twilight Runner.
Yeah.
Right.
But also they're saying in chat, Dog was running New Mally. New Mally's
Oh, that's
seems
right. Yeah,
really
that's what
good.
made it insane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
New
that seems
Mally.
really good.
New Mally just breaks it, right? It just breaks it in
Yeah.
half.
For listeners that are unfamiliar, 9 mana, 4/12, draw spells until your hand is full. That is, yeah. We'll see. I envisioned this card being
Ow.
too slow, but thinking about the play experience, yeah, if this is good, it's not good. If this is good, something players just get locked out of the game. I hope it's hard to pull off and not that good most of the time, because that means people still try it, and it can be fun if it's not the best thing to do. But if this is the best thing to do, then that's a bad time.
Yeah.
I'm curious. Like, Iksar has talked about this. He said what you want to do is for each player to talk about how broken the deck they are playing is. When everyone is doing that about a different deck, then you've made a good game. And so I hope this is part of that, but I hope it's not the deck that everyone is complaining about, because that's way worse.
Right. But in a different direction, but what are you scared of?
I'm not scared of these cards anymore. I don't know. Kind of what I was saying about the reveal stream is that they just revealed a lot of cheap cards that have text that seems more powerful than they've had on cheap cards before, and that's always worrisome to me. So I was just kind of talking about the 1-drops, and we'll talk about Spawn Pool Forager a little bit later, but kind of like, I guess the one that stood out a bit to me is Kindling Elemental,
Oh, yeah.
which is just a 1-mana 1/2
Oh.
that reduces the cost of the next elemental you play by 1, regardless of when you play that elemental. And that's just a lot of stuff for a 1-drop. It just feels very powerful, and powerful cheap cards are scary. And I guess the effect, I don't know that it's necessarily necessarily large enough to be an issue, but there's just a lot of these 1-mana cards that are very powerful. I think the other one I saw was the Paladin one that's just 1 mana, draw a holy spell, and we know that Librams are holy spells, so a 1-mana 1/1 that draws a card that is a very good card is relevant, to say the least. So there's just, when you have a lot of cheap cards that are powerful, it can be kind of scary. But now that we've talked about Celestial Alignment, I'm less scared, I guess. But having cheap cards against Celestial Alignment can be good, because it means potentially that aggro can be good enough to be in a winning position against this deck before it gets to go off. But it's also scary, so
Yeah.
I don't know. That's what I wanted to talk about. Just a lot of good 1-drops. And I don't know if that is scary because it means the early game is going to be way more important than anything else, or if it's not scary because it's balanced among a bunch of classes.
I think that we've learned a lot about what makes Hearthstone fun over the years, and playing more cards in a game is more fun than playing less cards. And so I'm glad they're making more relevant, powerful early game cards. And, you know, Knight of Anointment, 1 mana, 1/1, draw a holy spell. It's a really good card for 1 mana, but not the best card to play on turn 1. And I like that there's a distinction there, right? It's a 1 mana Novice Engineer, and so that's cool. But if you're looking for board presence early, you'd rather have Aldor Attendant. Or you know, if you're in Hunter, Sunscale Raptor, or whatever, it's not the card that you play to dominate the board, but it's worth running and really relevant and makes your deck better. I like that there's a mix between that and your Spy Mistresses and you know, minions that are value-based and minions that are tempo-based, but on average, you want your cards to cost less because playing more of them in the game is great, unless you're playing more of the same card over and over again. This is what I'm scared of.
Oh, yeah.
We've talked about Broom, we've talked about Flinger, but they printed this new card called Field Sergeant. 3 mana, 3/2. Printed this new card called Field Contact. 3 mana, 3/2. After you play a Battle Cry or combo card, draw a card. So, the combo pool in Standard is actually not very good. It's actually not a very good pool. Like, outside of Prize Plunderer and Swindle, you don't have Eviscerate anymore. You don't have Evil Miscreant, which was a huge deal, by the way. I know we've talked about it before, but it's important. And you don't have a lot of good cheap combo cards. Wand Thief, the pool is way worse because you lose all the free spells, which were the only spells that Rogue really wanted to see. But the Battle Cry part, imagine if we had a Battle Cry that rewarded us for playing a deck full of cheap spells with a card drawer that cared if we reused that Battle Cry. Why did they do this? Why? Why did they do this? Why is this a thing? Why is this a thing in the game? I talked about this yesterday in the Angry Chicken. I will talk about this to anyone that wants to talk about this. I'll bring it up. I'll repeat myself. I'm over Penflinger. We've talked about that before. I made a video about it with Raren. I'm somewhat over Broomstick. I'm really over Penflinger. But repetitive gameplay that encourages Rogue by drawing a bunch of cards that let you keep doing it. Just think about this sequence. On turn 4, Field Contact, Penflinger, Shadow Step the Field Contact, get both of them back. Just that. Just, you drew a card, you dealt a damage. By the way, next turn you have 1 mana Contact, and Penflinger is back in your hand. World is your oyster.
Yeah. I think especially with Rogue already having so much card draw, it's kind of ridiculous. It feels as though the thing that happened with Warrior of every time we saw a card and we're like, oh wow, this is insane. They can't do better than this. And then they made another good, like, 4 mana rush or defensive minion. Feels like Rogue has had that for like card draw and damage for a bit.
Yeah, it's
and
we have an abundance of riches in Rogue right now. Like, we have way too much. In fact, I think we're probably cutting Foxy and Swindle going forward because there aren't good combo cards to hit outside of Swindle and maybe Prize Plunder, which is a crazy thing. But like, the combo pool is bad right now. Right? There's just not that many good combo cards to hit. So we just go for brute force of just Field Contact and Penflinger and a lot of spells.
Yep. And, you know, we still have access to Secret Passage. Like, that's still around and is still insane. I don't know. Rogue has been drawing its whole deck already, and that is not going to change.
Yeah.
And regardless of if it's good or not, we also potentially have access to some amount of card cost reduction so that we can play those cards in the class.
Yeah.
If you even end up playing those cards, which I'm not sure that you do if you need to, but that's going to be an option we're going to have.
And you know what the best way is to activate Octobot? Penflinger.
Penflinger. Oh, it's nice.
Yeah.
I will probably be playing this deck. This seems like it's potentially a pretty big APM deck too.
Yes. I think it'll be fun for a while. I want a different engine. I'm ready for something else.
This deck does seem like it probably loses to Celestial alignment, though. Because once you get set back, you're going to have a pretty hard time, probably.
Ironically, Celestial Alignment, a very good counter to Wicked Stab, the ranked spell that scales up, because that's going to go back to 2 damage when you're back to 1 mana crystal.
I guess it also doesn't necessarily, because then you just get to play Octobot and then Pinflinger it, and now all the cards in your hand are free. Because
Oh
discounting
my
cards
goodness.
to...
Yes.
Because discounting cards that shouldn't be 0 mana to 0 mana is a good idea. It's not. Not a good idea. Don't let people discount cards to 0 mana.
I'm excited for this, and I hope it's not the thing that we're going to end up doing. Like, I want it to be good on week 1, and then that's it. And then I want us to figure out it's not good. That's what I'm hoping for.
Well, and you say the combo cards aren't good. They're not Miscreant or Edwin good. But, I mean, you can still go Foxy Wand Thief, Foxy Bladed Cultist.
Bladed Cultist? It's fine, I guess.
I mean, I don't know. I feel like it's more likely to see play this time around than it was last time around.
Sure. It's different from what we're used to, for sure. Like, I'm used to Foxy always saving the 2 mana and always being really valuable, and now it seems like a card that is a questionable inclusion.
Yeah, well, and I wonder if, SI or Plague Scientist are going to see play. I think there's a lot of stuff that we wouldn't consider before that maybe we do now.
But you know what 2 drops that we probably aren't going to play, Edelweiss?
Yeah. So there's a cycle in this set called Caravans. And at first, I was like, oh, they made these 2 mana 1/3 value cards. End of your turn, they give you an effect. And then I reread it, and I saw the dreaded words, at the start of your turn. And I was like, oh, okay, all of these are unplayable. Because 2 mana 1/3 is not a good stat line. So unfortunately, although they look really cool and they have interesting effects for each class, the Shaman one draws you Murlocs, the Hunter one hand buffs +1/+1, the Priest one, I think Thought Steals or something. And not like 2 cards, but it steals a card or a copy from your opponent's deck. Like, they do interesting things, but they're just not gonna live. The thing that I think of is we ran the 2 mana 1/4 in Druid that drew you a card at end of turn if you had floating mana crystals. And that was like just good enough to make it into very specifically the quest Druid decks, because you were trying to leave open mana crystals anyways. And yeah, when you have something this fragile that says at start of turn, I don't see it. Particularly if we're fighting for board a lot more now, I think you really need the stats. And I don't know, maybe I'll be proven wrong, but typically this kind of effect doesn't cut it, and I think it's weak enough that it still won't cut it even in Year of the Griffin.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because I almost put these cards for mine, and I think they honestly kind of go along with the cards I chose, even though they're somewhat different, but they're kind of cards that almost don't do anything, which I chose the watch posts. And I mean, I guess there's technically potential for these, but at the same time, they largely feel like they just don't do anything. The only one that I think interested me from Edelweiss's list would be the Paladin one, just because if you can get that to go off once, that card's pretty good. but everything else feels somewhat lackluster.
Oh, the Paladin
eyes.
Caravan. I see what you're
Yeah,
saying. 'Cause
Paladin.
You,
So
you
the
get two
Paladin
silver-handed
Caravan.
fruits. Yeah, I could see that.
But getting that to go off anything past turn 1 with coin seems like it's probably pretty difficult, especially if the format has a bunch of very playable 1-drops. It doesn't feel like it's going to be too difficult to remove these cards, and if you don't get value from playing this card, then it's absolutely trash.
So the
So-
Yeah,
caravans, yes. The watch post, I will fight you on this.
Yeah, caravans.
The watch post, the
I-
2-mana 2/4. The 2-mana 2/4 says whenever your opponent draws a card, it permanently gains 1 to its mana cost. If you just play that on turn 2, are you trading 2 minions into this? If I just play this on turn 2 and you have a 1-drop and 2-drop, are you just running them both in?
Are you putting a card in your deck that doesn't do anything except increase the cost of your opponent's card?
Yes.
How bad is it to play off curve in Hearthstone? Really, really bad, right? That like in duels and Dalaran Heist, there's a treasure Glyph of Warding. Your opponent's cards cost 1 more. It's a good treasure, right? So if I play this on turn 2, and you have I don't know, Flame Imp into some good 2-drop, so a 2/3 Dark Lair. You trade in the Flame Imp?
I mean, I guess you probably have to.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's a
maybe,
Doomsayer.
I guess.
Like, it's because if you leave this in play and you're just playing off curve, it's a permanent cost increase of 1 to every card you draw if you don't kill this. So, like, I don't want to draw this on turn 6, maybe. But if you play this on turn 2, your opponent they have to remove it. And if they can't, they're just off curve the entire rest of the game. And the 2 and 3 mana ones, the legendary, the watch post legendary says for each watch post you've summoned, you got Rally. Get him back. Rally him back.
But okay, the one problem with that is you do need a way to kill your opponent. And the problem that I saw with these was that now it wasn't with this one, it was with the other two specifically.
Yeah,
The
the
one
4
that
mana one is
makes
bad,
it-
I think, by the way. The epic one that boosts all your minions whenever they play a spell, I think that card's bad.
Yeah. What ended up happening was the watch posts, since they can't attack, were just ignored. And the person ended up kind of board locked, didn't even have the space to get the 5/5s when they played the legendary. So I think that in moderation, these watch posts could be pretty strong. I think the 2-mana tax is the best one, which is
Agree with that.
Yeah.
Strongly
Yeah.
agree with that.
Yeah.
And I just I don't know. I can't envision a deck that I still want to put this card in. Even if the effect is good, I just don't know when I'm playing this card. I don't know what kind of deck I'm going to be playing that
I mean,
wants a card like this.
definitely in something that you want stuff to slow down, right? It's not an aggro card; it can't attack. So if you're playing something that's a little more controlling, yeah, this has not quite the same role, but perhaps the same slot as Doomsayer in terms of you're just trying to slow things down. Because if you only tax one card, it's because they had to use resources on this.
Yeah, and it's going to depend on the shape of the format. I have a lot of questions about. Oh god.
Yeah, I don't know. I just saw I mostly saw the 3 and the 4 mana card. Those were the 2 that I saw, and they did not seem like they would almost ever be worth a deck slot.
Yeah. The
I
3 mana one
can't
is kind of
ever
annoying if
envision-
you're like the 3 mana one is a 2/2 every time they play a minion, they can attack back the next turn. Like it's kind of an open faced ambush.
Right.
Open faced ambush. But it's like a sandwich, but it's an ambush. It's a double entendre. Don't worry about it, Botticus. But the 2-drop. The question I have is how does it feel to draw this later in the game? Like, is it still relevant, or is it just completely dead? And if it's completely dead, then it's a high roll card in the early game. We probably cut it. But I don't know. For a deck like Darkglare Zoo, I could see playing this card. I could see running this in a Darkglare Zoo, right? Because your early turns in that deck are actually kind of slow, and you want your opponent to be kind of off balance. You play Revenant Rascal sometimes, right? And this is kind of that. Their answers are worse. Their threats are worse. I don't know. I could kind of see this in like a slightly higher curve aggro deck that isn't all about 1s and 2s. I don't know.
We'll have to see.
I think it's interesting. I think it's worth discussing. Overall, I wouldn't be surprised if Watch Post looks cool and is popular, but not good. So I think I agree with Boticus overall.
And then
Wait,
what was your pick?
We agree on a lot of things.
Yay.
All right. So the category is card I want to be good but isn't. I'm repurposing this for card that is sweet but does not have the support. Lilypad Lurker, also known as Vilespine Frogger. It's a 5-mana 4/5 Shaman Epic Elemental. If Battlecry, if you played an Elemental last turn, then you hex a minion. If this is online on turn 5, this card is awesome. Super good. Really good. But then you have to be playing Shaman with Elementals in it. And that's unfortunate. So, maybe I'm wrong about how good Shaman Elementals are, or Elementals are in general. And if there is support, this card is sweet, and we absolutely play it. I just don't have faith in Elemental Shaman being a thing.
I don't know.
There's
Yeah,
like 3 good ones.
there are definitely
And this is
some
one of
solid
those 3,
elementals.
so
Yeah.
But I don't know if there's a density yet. We'll have to see. You know, we've got the 1 mana we talked about earlier that discounts your next elemental by 1. We also previously didn't see play, but is good. Had the Gyre Surge elemental or something like that, which is a 3 mana 3/2 that if you played an elemental last turn, does 2
Gyre Worm.
damage to anything. Gyre Worm, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's a really solid effect. We've mentioned how Flame Tongue Kabu effects or minions that kill things when you play them.
Yeah. SIs are good.
Pretty solid.
Yeah.
So this is similar. A minion that can remove things is good. Will it have a home? We'll have to see. We might just be slowly building up density of these kinds of strong elementals until we have it at a later date.
I miss Firefly so much. I miss you, Firefly. Yeah.
I'll wait till we get into my next card.
Well, you have like a possessed villager Firefly kind of, I think.
Possess Villager Plus?
It's fine. I don't know. That's okay. I don't know.
Well, why don't we talk about this?
Why don't we
So
talk
the
about it?
archetype
Yeah.
that is getting pushed for Shaman is Murloc Shaman. And Boticus, what card is it you've got for us that you think? Do you think this card is overrated or underrated?
I can't imagine that it's overrated because I think it's probably, this is gonna, God, I'm gonna get memed on for this. I think this is probably the best card in the set for me.
Yes, you are.
It's really freaking good, right? It's a 1 mana 1/2, which you play, and then Death Rattles into a 1/1, which is better than any other, and it has a relevant tribe tag. It's just you probably play this in every Shaman deck. I don't foresee, even if you don't care about the Murloc tag, it's just, I don't know, it's more stats on a card than I've seen before, right? It just seems really good to me.
I know. It's good on 1, right? Like it's good board control on 1.
It's good in
Remember,
combo with the other Murlocs. It's good with Lushwater Scout, which is a strong card. It's good with Flurgle. Quite good with
Yep.
Flurgle. It's
Yeah.
good with Lushwater Mercenary. There's a lot of Murloc support, and I think it's just, I don't know. It just seemed really good to me. It's like a Firefly where you don't have to pay 1 for the second half of it.
it's like obviously this is a strong card at its very efficient rate, really efficient rate, and it will. If Murloc Shaman is going to even come close to existing, it needs a card like this. This is a Mermy upgrade, right? It's better than Mermy, and it's class specific. Like it's obviously very, very good.
This is the card I wanted Pharaoh Cat to be.
It's a good 1-drop. If I'm a deck that's looking to tidal wave people, I don't see myself including this in the deck. Right? Like, if I'm looking to be a tidal wave shaman, I don't see myself running this card. Now,
But like anything aggressive or mid range is pretty happy to have it.
assuming that this is the size of board presence that matters, if you're looking to trade, and that I don't know, because remember, minions are getting pushed pretty hard this set. There is a neutral 2-mana 2/4 Flame Imp. Right? Just a neutral 2-mana 2/4 Battlecry deal 3 to your hero. Everybody gets that card. If we're dealing with that as a typical 2-drop, 1-mana 1/2 drop a 1/1 looks in line. Right? So if minions are getting this much better, I don't know how to evaluate this. If this was in a previous set, then yes, one of the best 1-drops ever. And I still think it is a very strong 1-drop. But best card in the set's big. It's a big thing.
Yeah, I don't agree with best card in the set.
But I don't have an answer for
I
a
don't-
different card. I don't have a different card.
I don't expect anybody to ever see a card like this as the best card in the set just because it's not flashy, right? It doesn't. It's not. Doesn't have any game-breaking effects. It's going to be very hard to pinpoint the times where Spawn Pool Forager wins the game. But I feel like I think Firefly. I don't know that anybody ever would have said Firefly was the best card in that set, but it was the most played card by a wide margin.
It wasn't
It was
even
probably
close.
the best card in the set that it was in. So
Ungoro?
obviously this can't be as good because it's a shaman only card, and it's questionable if shaman will be playable with a card like this. But this is just one of those cards that's not flashy, but you put in just so many decks that I think it deserves a spot in a very high spot rating in the set. And so maybe calling it the best card in the set is me being a bit obtuse. But
No, I don't. I
it's
don't even
just-
think you're wrong though. Like,
Yeah, I don't fault you for it.
I will say the best card in Ungoro was probably the Caverns Below. That's probably the best card in that set because they did nerf it a few times. But like,
yeah, you know why though? Because of Firefly, that card was in the deck.
it was that is what you said is a true statement. That was in the same deck. But yeah, like, this is going to be a staple of Shaman decks for 2 years. It's not going to be close. It's a really strong 1-drop. I think every class would play it if they could play it. I don't know. In terms of just like efficient cards on rate, I mean, we're looking at cards that aren't necessarily flashy. I don't know if I'd call Penslinger or Broomstick flashy in retrospect, or Tour Guide or whatever, the Scholomance ones. But
I don't
it's,
think we would
yeah.
have called them the best cards in the set before. We certainly do after.
So maybe this will be that card of like, Shaman becomes playable because this card exists. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
but
there's a few reasons
also
why Shaman could be playable.
also like those cards are probably best in set, but this set doesn't feel as powerful as those other sets.
That is
That was all the same
So-
set as Scholomance, because Scholomance was insane.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree.
So I don't know. It's
I don't think it's a crazy statement. I don't think it's a crazy statement. You know what, Botticus? I'm glad you said what you said. I'm glad you said it. I think there's some merit to it. Also, the best card in the set might be Kazakus. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see.
that's one of those cards that's almost impossible to tell because it feels like a card you really have to play. Whereas I don't have to play with Spawn Pool Forager to know that I'm going to include this in a bunch of shaman decks if I end up playing shaman decks.
Well,
Yeah.
and notably, it is really good in the Murloc decks because some of the new Murlocs care about having a Murloc in play. And so a sticky minion like this that spits out another Murloc is quite good for being able to activate those effects. I believe one of them enters as a 4/3 if you have a Murloc in play.
Yeah,
Another
Fleshwater.
one shoots something for 2 if you have a Murloc in play. So those are going to do a really good job of snowballing board states.
This is the... Okay. Alright, I figured it out. This is the Evil Miscreant of Murloc Shaman. And you know what? Evil Miscreant was a pretty good card, too. Like, it isn't the thing that you wanted the deck to do, but it's the thing that allowed the deck to do it. And the key support enabler that makes your deck function that much better is pretty important. I'm convinced. Botticus, you're a very persuasive speaker. You should be on a show.
Yeah, it'll be great. It'll be great in 3 months when we look back at this and Shaman wasn't a playable class. So,
But it won't be
card-
because of this card. We're not
Yes.
misevaluating this card. There's no way that this card is not good. It's just a question of is what's good around it.
Yeah,
It's
it was
definitely
also
possible that my picks are not good though.
well. It's very funny that I was looking at all the cards we were scared of that none of them saw play
Yes.
because we had all the cards that all the cards we were scared of, and not a single one of them became a large hindrance to the meta.
From chat.
My card that
Go ahead.
wanted to be good but wasn't was ETC. So that was a miss. The combo was much better than I thought.
Yeah, the card I wanted to be good but wasn't, I listed as Foxy Fraud, and while I was convinced that same episode, I was off on that card's initial evaluation. I was off on that card. Also, from chat, Evil Fishcreant, thank you, Other Tom. I appreciate you. And also, Proby1, you're a crazy person, thank you so much. Really appreciate the support. Alright, well, speaking of best cards in the set, let's go to Edelweiss.
Whoa. I didn't say best card in the set. I just think these are better than people give them credit for. So I picked Invigorating Sermon and Thick-Hide Kodo, which are both 4-mana cards. Invigorating Sermon is a Paladin card. It is a holy spell, which is part of why I like it. 4 mana, give all minions in play, in your hand, and in your deck +1/+1. Now, at rate of 4 mana, that's like not super impressive, but I think the fact that you can have the threat of buffing your board while also buffing cards in your hand and deck is really nice. Tied into it being a holy spell, they can get discounted by the new legendary. That's pretty significant. And we have a 1/1 that draws a holy spell from our deck. So you can make a dude paladin where the only holy spells in your deck are God, it's not called Pursuit of Justice, is it? There's 2 mana spell that increases the attack of all your Silverhand recruits by 1 for the rest of the game, wherever they are, in play or in the future. That is a holy spell. So what I'm looking to do is make a dude paladin with the only holy spells being, that 2 mana one and this 4
Pursuit
mana
of
one.
Justice, you were right.
Yes.
Pursuit of Justice.
Okay. Surprised I got that. And then we can consistently get buffs on our Silverhand recruits going. So maybe that won't quite be worth it, but I'm interested in anything that's gonna sort of Keleseth buff my deck and can have an impact on the board that I already have in play. It's also a pretty good corrupt activator for Day at the Fair.
Though
that
those
might be-
minions don't get buffed.
That is true.
It's the biggest issue I have with this card is that it doesn't hit tokens that you generate after you play it.
Yeah, that's where I could see it maybe not making the cut. It's definitely feels like maybe filler support. I don't know, but Paladin doesn't have a big quartermaster effect or anything. Maybe Pursuit of Justice is just going to be all that we need. Maybe this just doesn't make it in, but I think it could be worth running at least one if you want to keep your holy spell pool small and guarantee pretty good hit. But the other pick I had that's probably a little more likely to see play is Thick-Hide Kodo, which is a 4 mana 3/5 taunt. It is a beast and it has Death Rattle, gain 5 armor. And this is a boring minion, but a really strong defensive tool. And people say, "Oh, but we want to overgrowth on 4." Sure, but sometimes you just need to not die on 4, and this is gonna help you do that. And it's also a beast that maybe we guardian animals out of our deck. It's still reasonable to guardian animals this out of your deck, even though it doesn't cost 5 mana. So I would not be surprised to see this getting thrown in some druids as a defensive tool. It's versatile in that it's both a beast that we might be interested in recruiting, and it is a taunt that you could maybe run in some kind of taunt druid if that, comes into play.
It checks all the boxes, right? It's got the taunt stuff, it's got the beast stuff, and also you play it and you don't die. It's seems pretty likely that a druid deck will need this to survive. If you don't hit Overgrowth, you play this instead. And sometimes you need to play this.
This card's so much better than Teacher's Pet, I think.
Yes.
When you compare I would so much rather have 5 armor when I'm playing a Guardian Animals Druid deck than I would a random 3-drop in the majority of situations. So, I think this card's quite good.
I'm waiting to see the cat.
She's not going to show up.
Oh no.
She just wants to bite my hand. That's what she wants to do, is bite my arm and just hold on for dear life.
That's all right. Okay.
It's like a wrestling thing we've been doing.
I'll
probably encourage it, but
who am I to get in the way of you and the cat? All right. Well, you were both really positive about cards, so I have to get incendiary.
Okay.
I think Scab's Cutter Butter, outside of the name, which is easily the best name in the set, is an overrated card that belongs in not most rogue decks. Does not belong in most rogue decks. So, Scab's Cutter Butter. 4 mana 3/3, combo, the next 2 cards you play this turn cost 3 less. Seems really insane, right? People see cost 3 less and they lose their minds. It's like Skull of Gul'dan. But you don't get to draw the cards here. You have to have the cards already. The really tough part about this card is that it starts with the word combo. 4 mana cards that start with the word combo are really hard to use. Even if you save the coin and do it. If you just play this with two 2-mana cards, you just got 1 free 3/3 that you were holding cards for. Right? You had to slow yourself down to get the 2 cards you could have played anyways, and the free 3/3. I've heard comparisons to Foxy Fraud. Edelweiss convinced me in Foxy Fraud for the important reason that Foxy Fraud activated combo, whereas this requires combo. I want you to think about an opening hand that you draw. Wand Thief, Swindle, Scab's Cutter Butters. That's what you mulligan into. Do you concede before you draw your first card? Because that hand is horrendous. What are you going to do? Right? Walk me through how those first few turns are going to go. We have to fight to gain so much tempo back because we gave it up by getting this card in our opening hand. Now, I think there are some decks that will want to play this. You play this in Secret Rogue because you get Sparkjoy cheats, and that's really good. And you're holding the secrets anyway, right? They're cards that you want to hold on to. But usually, in Rogue, you want to play your cards on curve. You want to play your cards when you get them, right? So you're not looking for the power swing to be in this really big turn 4 power swing, turn 5 that you have to build up towards. We want our secret passages to hit low-cost cards. We want this card to make it more efficient to have a swing turn if we're already planning on having one, but not to make a swing turn when our deck is already just applies consistent pressure. So I'd rather not play this. And most of the time, I think Rogue, with access to Shadow Step, would rather just play Kazakus anyway. Because Kazakus in Rogue is really good. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. I don't think this card is bad, but I think most Rogue decks should not run it, and if you're planning on being proactive, that's not what this card is.
And I think the point you make about Kazakus is really strong, because Rogue can still Shadow Step, and Shadow Stepping Kazakus seems quite powerful.
Yes.
There's really not 4-drops that come to mind for Rogue.
Tomb Pillager.
Okay. All right. That's a big one. But it seems like you're either running Tomb Pillagers and this card, or you're running Kazakus, and I'm probably on the Kazakus side of that.
Yeah, I'd rather, generally, in my experience, decks get better in Hearthstone when you lower the curve, and I would rather play fewer expensive cards, especially when we still are in the world of Secret Passage, where every card that costs more than 2 is a choice, and every card that costs more than 3 is a Jandis. Like, because Tomb Pillager is not a Jandis. Scab's Cutter Butters, you are no Jandis. It's not a thing.
I'm just gonna play coin, cutter butter, pen flinger, potion of illusion, and win the game.
Assuming you have one
Can't
mana
do
floating.
that. The potion still costs 1.
Assuming you have a mana floating, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I said. Coin, cutter butter on 4 mana, so you go
Okay.
to 5.
On 4 mana. Sure,
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, you can't play potion without an extra mana.
Yeah.
I was saying,
And then you
I thought you
and
were
then you
saying
get
coin into cutter.
and then you get 2 pen flingers and they die.
But like you can just already just be playing Penflinger.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're obviously like the thing about a card like this is it can't be the a card like this can't be the only way you win the game, right? This is a card that enables you to win the game. And I do agree with your point that this isn't I was thinking when I initially saw this card, it's a card that looks kind of nutty with the text, and when you think about it, it's difficult to really find exactly a spot that you want it, but I think that there will be decks that will make good use of this card, and it probably has a pretty good place. But also, yeah, it's hard. It's harder to make this card work than it looks like it is, I guess.
And I think you really want 3 drops. You really want to play 3 drops off of the effect from this card. And as Sap mentioned, we're really skeptical about any 3 drops we put in our deck with Secret Passage.
Sparkjoy Cheat's going to be good. Like that's
Yes.
I know that
Yeah.
Sparkjoy Cheat for sure. Like and hitting Sparkjoy Secret or Hanar Secret is good enough. I think this 100% goes in Secret Rogue. 100% goes in Secret Rogue. But that's also really the only place that I see it happening. For now. We'll see. All right. The card that I didn't understand has already been explained.
So you could go. So you could go prep. What would you go? Prep, cutter butter, pen flinger, or field contact, pen flinger secret.
Well, you need to pay for. Oh, I guess you don't need to pay for the secret. Yeah, you could do that.
Yeah,
That's
fun.
Yeah, that's
I don't know
stuff.
how good it is, but it's fun.
It's at least fun. Yes. I am excited for you to play more like. Are we going to call it Cutter Botters? Is that what we're going to call that card? If Botticus plays a lot, maybe we'll. All right. So the card that I didn't understand was already explained to me. It's Celestial Alignment. Botticus, tell us about the card you don't understand.
Okay, I think I understand how this card works, but then I also saw a post about this card. It's Serena Bloodfeather. So it's a 2-mana 1/1 battle cry. Choose an enemy minion, steal attack and health from it until this has more. Is it more of both, or when it hits the health, then it stops stealing health and goes just to attack?
It will always be 1/1 higher than.
No, because if there's
okay,
a 3/3 and you play this card,
okay, I can explain
if
this.
it's a 3/3 and you play this card, then it turns the 3/3 into a 1/1. This becomes a 3/3. I assume.
So
I assume that's how that works.
All right.
But if it's like a 4/4, then they both become 3/3s. No. One becomes a 2/2, the other is a 3/3. You understand why this card is confusing?
I have 2 explanations for the 2 of you that are different. I promise it's not meant to be insulting. I just think you both learn differently. All right.
Yeah.
Botticus, we're going to start with you. All right. On your right hand, hold up your index finger, your 1 finger. That is Serena. On your left hand, hold up the minion that you're draining from. Some 3/3. Move 1 finger at a time. And until your right hand has more fingers than your left hand. Right? So, we start with 3 and 1. Move 1 finger over, it's 2 and 2. That's not more. Keep going. 1 and 3, right?
No, I understand how the card works. It's a very confusing card, though.
It is. But so, this is how...
odd numbers, it gets 2 more. And even numbers, it gets 1 more.
It's
is how it works.
Yes, it's... So, Edelweiss. The math explanation. the minion you're targeting, give it +2/+2, then divide by 2 and round up. So if you're targeting a 5/6,
Okay.
make it a 7/8,
Well,
divide by 2,
I guess
it's a 4/4.
my question is, do we look at power and toughness separately?
Do the finger thing for the attack until you're done, then do the health, and you're done. Yeah, separately.
So if you target something with 1 HP and you steal an HP from it,
It dies.
does it stop? It dies before you keep going.
Now, before it keeps going, I don't know. I think that it looks at both numbers. It doesn't, like, it's not 2 separate streams, it's 1 animation. So I think the counting is done, like, it does both things. So yeah, if you target,
So
like,
you'll get the attack even if
you
kill the
target a
minion.
9/1, then yeah, it should be a, Serena becomes a 6 attack. It was, I think, 6 attack? A 6/2? Or 7/2? Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought this card was straightforward, and then I remembered that things could have different power and toughness.
Yeah. +2/+2, divide by 2, round up. So a 9/1 +2/+2 is a 11/3. Divide by 2 and round up is 6/2. Yes. There you go.
Yeah.
So this card's confusing.
Yes.
Yes.
It's very
But
confusing, which
I
is
think
why I
always
put
good
it
on
on
rate.
this list.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
Kind of. It's
So,
it's weird. It's strange.
So it's okay, right? It's one of those cards where it's going to be a decent rate, but you almost always leave their minion behind, which I don't like about it.
What you don't like about it?
Well, yeah, I want to kill their minion.
Oh.
When I play this card, I don't want them to
Yes.
have a minion.
It is not a 2-mana Vilespine.
I misunderstood you saying behind. Like, I thought you're saying leaves it behind in the sense that that minion is still alive. I was thinking
Yes.
leaves it behind in the sense that it is worse than your minion.
Yeah. It's
No, that's a good thing. So I just don't think that I don't see that this has a place really, because if you use this on a big minion, it definitely shrinks that big minion, but they still have a relatively medium-sized minion, and yours is slightly bigger. So
Can I introduce you to a card called Animated Broomstick?
Oh, how many times is that gonna come up today? But it's,
I mean,
yes,
sure.
but every card is good with Broomstick. This is Priest Argent Braggart, right? So you
Yes.
play it the same turn that you do other stuff, because 2 mana to shrink a minion by half and make a big threat is good. But by itself, it doesn't remove the threat, and it develops a single medium-sized threat that may or may not be relevant.
Yeah. I was gonna say, because the thing with Braggart is it made a big threat, whereas this makes their threat less, and you have a threat, but it's not that much more imposing than their threat, and they also have priority because they have initiative because they're going to be going next. So not only is the text confusing, but the application also seems confusing. So that's why I put that I don't understand this card, even though I think I understand how it works. I just don't understand its place and what it actually does. I think it's one of those cards that's just a really cool card that probably doesn't really end up seeing a lot of play, but I can't envision the priest deck that would use it. So
I could be wrong about this, but I put this in a similar place as Mind Flayer Karsh. It's not, it's not the same effect. I think it's not necessarily as good, but I think it sort of fits the same slot where if you're a priest that is not full control, that still cares about board and cares about tempo, this is always good value when you play it. It's
Unless they don't have a minion.
Always good on tempo.
Unless they don't have a minion.
Yeah,
and then it's
they don't have a
cars you
minion.
could just run out on 3. Like, you can't run this out on 3.
Yeah, okay, that's true. It is definitely worse in that sense. You can't just run it out on 3. But assuming that we're doing a lot more minion-based things, like, this is always going to give you the better minion. And I think if we're doing more stuff with our board, that's fine.
This is a card that you would play, Boticus, in Mean Street's Dragon Priest. You would throw this into a Drac Operative turn and shrink their thing, and get another big old beefy thing. It's an Argent Braggart. Straight up, you play it in beefy mid-range decks, right?
Yeah.
And because the cost is, because it's cheap. It's cheap, it's bigger stats for its cost, than you would expect it to be. But it's not good early game. It's terrible early game. It's not an independently good threat. You have to play it with other threats. There's a lot of ifs.
Well,
about
you
this
say
card.
it's not good early game. I think killing anything with 1 toughness is actually a really good scenario.
I wonder how much that'll come up. Yeah, if that comes
Yeah.
up.
I guess
Like,
If we're
I'm
hitting
interested
spy
in killing
mistresses,
spy
the most
mistress.
Yeah,
sense.
when we're hitting spy mistresses, that's really good. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I'm more sold on it than I was before, but I still just I struggle to see what Priest is doing. Honestly, I'm just looking at the cards in Forged and the Barons, and I probably just need to go back and look at the previous cards because it just seems like a bunch of spells in hand matters cards that I don't know how effective that will be, and then
Priest is a lot of dudes. A lot of good dudes. I want to try out a curve mid-range priest because there are good cost minions, I think, at every spot in the curve. Like, I don't know, if you can play a Crimson Clergy into a Cultier and Chaplain and make a 1/5 Clergy, and then Apo on 3, and then Zyrella on 4, and then Anchi Priest on 5, and like, it's a lot of stuff. I don't know. I don't know. I know that's the dream job, but I'm just saying. I don't know.
But
You're-
a
I'm still
little bit
not
of a
sold on
different
this card.
take on no, that's fine. Again, it's a weird effect, and it's one of those that we can't figure out how good it is until we play with it.
All right, last card. Let's go.
So last card I don't understand is Paralytic Poison. And it's not that I don't understand what it does. It's that I don't understand why this exists. So 1 mana, give your weapon +1 attack, and your hero is immune while attacking. The weapons that this is going on are Self-Sharpening Sword, or the new 3 mana weapon that gets +1 durability whenever you play a poison. Both weapons that are going to stick around for a number of turns, and you really want to buff with a lot of poisons, a lot of attack. And
Could also
this
go
is-
on the new old Assassin's Blade.
yeah. This
That
is
also has
how
a lot of
Rogue heals. Rogue heals by not taking the damage in the first place. Previously, the way we had this effect was by completing the Burgle quest or on Shadowblade for a single turn. Being able to pick and choose when and on what weapon you want to get this effect and just have it for a while is kind of terrifying, because the cost of Rogue using their weapon to fight for board has been to take a health tax and give the opponent a window to counter lethal. You don't get as big of a window to counter lethal if they're just not taking the damage from those weapon swings. So, I mean, I appreciate that is a thing that helps their weapon for situations that are not going face. However, it's scary for Rogue to have access to this kind of effect. It's not as good as the leeching poison from the Kingsbane days, but it's still really scary for 1 mana to be able to gain this effect on a weapon.
Oh, I fully disagree. We hope this card is good. This is Blizzard saying, Rogue players, please trade more. Please stop going face. Please, just do some minion combat. We'll even let you draw a card when you attack. You don't even have to take damage. Please trade a little. Rogue players just want to go face. They just want to go face. So, putting these cards in there saying, please trade, if there is a Rogue deck that wants to juice up an Assassin's Blade for 5 turns and draw some cards and kill some minions, that is exactly the perfect thing that Team 5 wants. Minion combat matters. Weapons matter for controlling the board. Paralytic Poison is a bad face card and a good board control card, so I think it's a bad card, because why would you ever trade as a rogue? But they really want you to trade, so they're like, here, we'll make it juicy. But you don't want to play this card. You want to go face. You want to hit him.
I don't know about that.
But they get to attack
It's
once
a really
turn.
powerful effect for 1 mana.
But they don't have Wind Fury. Like, if a rogue is hitting your minions in multiple turns in a row now, how thrilled are you? How excited are you that they have to trade?
I mean, that means they're killing you with their minions, though.
Or that you can apply board pressure and they have to trade to fight back. I don't know. That's whenever I've had weapons in Rogue, I know where they want to go, and it's not into minions. Like when I played, when I was trying out Bizarre Burglary Rogue, just because like I had to, and I activated the quest on turn 3, and like board control and whatever because it's active on turn 2. But then I started doming them, and the deck felt worse because I had to do the trading stuff first. I don't want to have to do that. You only get 1 attack a turn. It's not like Demon Hunter with Warglaives. You only get 1 attack a turn, and if all that damage going in minions, that's good for Team 5 because that's what they want to happen.
I mean, I don't disagree on that point. I understand like what it's trying to do, but I think of the moments when you were playing like a Libram Paladin, and it was a huge swing that you were able to get your 8/8 taunt and heal for a bunch, and they weren't going to be able to deal with it because they would take 8, because they would take that much damage from swinging in with their enormous weapon, and they're just not going to take that damage and still get to clear it.
I can see it. Like, it's where you're talking about the invalidation of the taunt keyword, right? And that seems like a relevant point. Like, it's your invalidating taunt. That taunt doesn't matter. This can be Kane-ish if taunts are like, if you get to clear taunts without personal consequence. Yeah, I can see that, right? It's almost like a consume magic that's 6 or something.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, my concern is are we still going to be able to counter lethal rogues when they're not paying the cost of fighting for board with a weapon?
Yeah. Are they going to be, is Assassin's Blade going to be 5 attacks and that's too much for any deck to overcome because it's just free hits and free card draws? But
Right.
if there's a soul Demon Hunter rogue out there that is able to, because they don't get the big burst damage to face the same way that Demon Hunter used to. There's no Twin Slice. So, like, if they have
okay, there is new rank upable damage spell.
Wicked Stab, sure, but that's not an attack buff though. That's just a fireball.
Right. Yeah.
And by the way, I don't think it was a good idea to give Rogue a fireball. I don't think they should.
I don't.
No,
I don't.
They shouldn't have done that. But like, I don't know, just the idea of a Rogue deck that actually cares about controlling the board with a weapon for 5 turns in a row.
I mean, it's exciting. It's just also a little scary.
If that's good, I'll be happy, and if it's the best thing to do, then that'll suck.
Well, and it'll suck especially because then there's just oozes all over the place, and you don't get to do your fun thing anymore, right?
And this was
That's
also
the tricky thing with these kind of cool things with weapons. That
was Wicked Good's concern about when you push weapons, the gameplay becomes more binary, and Wicked Good's a smart guy. Okay, I see it. I see it. You've convinced me again.
I will say though, if a deck like this becomes good, then weapon hate actually becomes useful, because the biggest problem with weapon hate is when weapons are good, almost all of the good weapons have 2 durability. So
yeah,
you only ever get to destroy 1 of the durability, and that's usually not good enough. So if we're putting this on a self-sharpening sword or an assassin's blade
or a swine tusk shank,
we have actual counterplay to it in the cards we can include in our decks.
And also there's the non-synergy of if you have 2 self-sharpening swords and 2 assassin's blades in your deck, and then you get things going on one of them, you have way too many weapon charges, and so you draw all these dead cards. Because that's also a thing that if all your weapons have a ton of durability, then it becomes really hard for the additional draws to become valuable. The redundancy actually has a downside, which I like a lot, which I think is a good play pattern, as opposed to a bunch of waggle picks, where it's like you just play it and slam it and get them, and then you play a life drinker and slam it and get them, and then you run it back out there with the waggle pick and get them. And I'm not saying I'm against getting them. I'm just saying that the incremental weapon play style, yeah, I dig it.
Although, if you're drawing enough cards, you can afford for some of them to be dead.
But you're not secret passaging with Assassin Blade in your deck. Like, that's not happening.
Oh, no, I don't think we're playing Assassin's Blade. We might play Self-Sharpening Sword and the new weapon.
Shank.
Yeah, we might play Sword and Shank. But
That's the name of the
don't think
deck.
we're running Assassin's Blade.
Shank seems way worse than Sword.
There's a lot of poisons and the new Zero.
Yeah.
Are we really playing Zeril if a third of the time we're getting Silverleaf Poison? Or a fourth of the time, whatever it is?
What is that? The card draw one?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think we're okay with it.
I don't want to be paying 2 mana for that effect, I don't think. But maybe.
I mean, it's preppable. I don't know.
That we can only play 2 preps. I understand the prepper.
It is worth trying.
Everything is worth trying. It's new expansion time. We're gonna try all this stuff. Very excited for it. We're making bold predictions now because that's how content works. But we're all just, well, after this, I'm gonna log on and play a lot more Hearthstone because there's like multiple modes that I haven't explored enough yet for today. But we're all just so excited for the new set and to try all this stuff and to see what's going on. Next Tuesday is the day, rotation day. Hearthstone New Year. So, let's transition to the outro. We've been going for almost 2.5 hours. Holy crap. Can't believe my voice didn't die. So, we have many folks we'd like to thank. Check out our thanks section on the website at coinconcede.com. You can find our contact info, our show notes, and our Patreon information. You can monetarily support our show at patreon.com/coinconcede. Join us every week live by following us on Twitch at twitch.coinconcede.com. Join our community chats in our Discord at discord.coinconcede.com. Write into our email at coinconcede@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter at coinconcede. Like, share, and follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/coinconcede. Like some CC swag, head over to our shop at shop.coinconcede.com. Big thanks to our producers, Number Theory, Itinerant Wizard, Doge TK, Proby1, Dr. Fish, Kresh, Cap, B-Squatch, David P, Snowpack, and our new producer, Ann Taro. Talk about Coin Concedes. Botticus, you got the best one. Let's go.
So I would like to coin concede to friend of the show Enthralamond. I was watching him stream the other night, streaming a bit of duels, playing some rogue, and he got to 12 wins, which was pretty awesome. And also had some very nice things to say about me, which I always appreciate. And is not I'm coin conceding because of the 12 wins, not because of the compliments, but the compliments are nice too. So yeah, make sure to check out his podcast, Squelch, because they do an awesome podcast every week.
Yes, they do. And he's in our chat right now. What's up, Thrallman? How's it going? Edelweiss. Coin Concedes.
I'm gonna coin concede to my wife, Rachel, because she came and brought me water during the show when I was feeling thirsty. And that was nice.
Yes. Also, coin concede your cat for biting your arm.
Yeah. What? Yeah. So.
Hi, cat.
Stream.
Hello, cat. She does like biting your arm. Okay. Chomp. Adorable. And I would like to coin concede to a few people. Lucky for being a nice fella. I don't know, just Team 5 in general. Did a really good job today of getting out this patch, and it was less chaotic and challenging than I thought it would be. Everything was really regimented as to when it was going to happen. They announced roughly when mobile patches were going to come out, and everything rolled out, and no server breakage. Even though there might be some downtime going on literally right now in our chat, I don't know. Just really impressed with how things went and how active they've been on communicating lately. Also, coin concede to Chris Sierra, who was my first opponent in Classic today, and he was playing Shadowform Priest, and I did kill him with Leroy Shadowstep. Leroy, Chris, thank you so much for thinking of me for the bundles. Please don't forget about me for the next one. GG's. Everyone who shipped me bugs on Twitter or Discord or whatever, really appreciate that. I just like to keep a little list there of what's going on, so I can tell people about it. And also, coin concede to Craptasm for taking some liberties with the audio from the Vicious Syndicate podcast last week, where we were talking about Light Shower Elemental. You will hear his work, his masterwork, on the next Vicious Syndicate podcast. Yeah, it's really something. It's really something. Oh my god, there's a cat.
I have to hold her like this so that she can't attack.
She looks
has to be
unamused.
Oh, okay.
Yes. All right. Also, by the way, I immediately switched to cat coin as soon as I logged into Hearthstone today.
Excellent.
Yes, it's a very good coin. All right, that's going to do it. So,
Weiss would be pleased.
yes. Keep calm, and hey, we'll see you next year, Hearthstone-wise. And if you see us in the ladder, cat coin concede.
Coin conceal.
Go and concede.
Robotticus wins this week. All right. Stopping recording.
Thanks to Abra for that one.
That was a good one. Thanks, you all.
That one.
We'll see
Thanks,
you.
everyone.
Hearthstone New Year's coming. See you soon. Thank you so much for the
Have a
support.
good weekend. Enjoy Classic.
Yes. Oh, wait.
Enjoy
I have to
Standard.
record one more thing. Yeah, stream's still up. And also want to give a thanks to all of our Twitch subs during the show. Noodles,
Woo.
Hair Pie, J Correct for the host, Stowel J for the 5 gift subs, Gun Syndicate, and Proby1 for the 10 gift subs. Thank you so much, everyone. All right, I'm going to splice that in. It'll be seamless. Seamless! All right. Thank you all. And we'll see you next week.